Hello everyone and welcome to week 7 of the Collegiate Chess League 2023. I'm Grandmaster Benjamin Bok and today I'm joined by Joe Lee. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. This is the last week of the regular season. I'm so excited and welcome to the show, by the way. Normally you're playing, but today you decided to join us in the broadcast booth. How are you feeling?
Yeah, definitely a change of pace. I'm looking forward to some pretty exciting matchups, which we definitely have today. And it's the last week of the regular season, so today will determine which teams will make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, I can't wait to see who's going to make the top 2 spots. Right now, we have SLU and Dallas at number 1 and number 2, but that could change. So we're actually going to watch both of them play today. And those top 2 spots are extremely important because not only do they get a bye in the first round of the playoffs, but they're actually going to be guaranteed prize money already because prize money is going to be the top 4 places and the top 2 will make semifinals immediately. So they're going to be playing next weekend for the first round, but those 2 teams will actually be playing on November 18th, 2 weeks from now. So we're going to find out who's going to make the top 2. Do you have any guesses who that would be, Ben?
Of course, it'll be SLU, and I suppose Dallas, as Dallas today is playing against Columbia. They're definitely a big favorite over there. And looking at the last 2 spots, it looks like Yale is already guaranteed a spot into the playoffs as well. And I think Columbia, it's looking pretty good for them as well to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, we're going to watch Columbia play against Dallas today, but even if they lose, they should still beat Chicago on tie breaks because they won in their head-to-head matchup. So I think Virginia and Chicago are already eliminated, but we're going to keep an eye on the rest of the seeding because we could see some things shift around. Do you think that Columbia has any chance today against UTDallas?
Well, if you want the honest answer, the answer is no. We see that Dallas has GMs on almost all boards, and on board 3 they have an IM. Whereas Columbia, with Brandon in the team, maybe they would have had chances, but I think it's going to be very tough for them.
Yeah, I think last minute Columbia had to unfortunately sub out Brandon Jacobson for their board 4 Ayu Kamate there. So it's going to be tough for them. I agree with you. I think Dallas is going to take this one home. So if Dallas wins, that puts them at a season record of 6-1. Their only loss actually coming from SLU. Last week, we actually watched that triple overtime match. That was so exciting. How was that to play in?
It was definitely stressful. So it was a weird match. We were leading by 3 points going into the final round, and I thought we should be able to make it. Perhaps my teammates thought that as well, and perhaps everyone relaxed a little bit too much. And when I lost my last game, I suddenly looked at the other games and I saw that, oh no, everyone else is losing as well. But Robbie managed to save a draw by a miracle. The match went into overtime, and especially the bullet portion. Like, I don't know if you remember, I had that game that ended in a draw after 130 moves where I was pushing for the win. That one also was a little bit stressful, but I'm very happy that we got the win in that one.
Yeah, that was crazy. You guys almost got swept in that 4th and final round, and that would have been a huge loss. But just to refresh you all, talking about tie breaks, let's look at the match format for the Collegiate Chess League. So it's very similar to the Pro Chess League, and this is week 7. So if you're new here, we'll go over it, but most of you should know by now. This is a team format. It's 4 versus 4. It's an all-play-all, so it's a total of 16 games. That means that if you get to 8.5 points, you win. You get 1 point for a win, half a point for a draw, nothing if you lose. If it's tied 8-8, you go to a 5th round tie break with 3+2 time control. And if it's still tied, like in your match last week, then you go to 1+2 bullet time control. You repeat that until someone wins. And this is a 5+2 to start with. So it's blitz. It's fast paced. It's exciting. And I can't wait to see who's going to win this first match here between Dallas and Columbia. Because Columbia, they've already made the playoffs. But Dallas, they're trying to hold on to that number 1 spot. So they're going to try to get as many points as they can.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you just read out all the rules for a potential tiebreak. Usually, you're like, okay, well, that never happens, but we saw it can actually happen last week. As you mentioned before, it went to triple overtime. And Nicolas Theodorou, my teammate, he did just finish his game at the Isle of Man, so it looks like he will be able to play for the team today. But yeah, we see the matchups here today. Dallas, again, having GMs almost on all of the boards. It's going to be a tough one for Colombia, but like I said, it's good for them that they are already in the playoffs.
Yeah. So right now, Columbia and Dallas, this is their last match of the season, and maybe for Columbia, it doesn't change their standings very much, but this is a chance for their board four to get some experience in, maybe before the playoffs. Obviously, we mentioned Brandon Jacobson is out, so that's going to be important for him to come back once the playoffs do start. But for this match, maybe the players are going to get some experience, and that could be really helpful in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like to me that we are off into the games. We said the games are staggered by 30 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. And we see on the bird's eye view here that Rahul and Aristo have already started off their game. So let's see if we can go there, Joe. It started out as a double fianchetto.
Yeah, board one is underway for Colombia. This is their FIDE master, Aristo Liu, who is actually their team captain, and he's typically their board two. But he's got some big shoes to fill today for Brandon's spot. But we'll see how he does against this Dallas team. Obviously, he's also a title player, so in blitz chess, I think that he still has some good chances. But yeah, do you want to give a prediction maybe on what you think the score is? Nemo and I have usually done a sort of gamble where if you can guess the exact score correctly, the other person will gift 10 subs. I don't know if you want to take that bet or not.
Sure, we can do something like that. Okay, so let's have a look. Again, I predict a tough matchup for Colombia. I think Aristo can get some points on the board, but I'm gonna be harsh here. I'm gonna say like 14-2.
Yeah, I think this might be one of the most lopsided with Brandon Jacobson out. Colombia has three non-titled players. Their only title player, board one, FIDE master, whereas Dallas has three GMs and an IM. Like, it's not unreasonable to expect like all four wins for all four Dallas players. So really the only points that Colombia could get would be like upset points, really, which would
Mm-hmm.
we're mainly expecting it from Aristo Leo, right? Like maybe one win, maybe like a draw or two. So I feel like 14-2 is actually like as devastating as it sounds. I feel like it's actually somewhat reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, no,
it's tough to guess something else.
it could even be something like 15-1, right? I mean, Aristo, he is outrated
Yeah.
by quite a few, like what is it? At least 200, 300 points on every board. And the other players, they are outrated by 500, 600, 700 points. So they might very easily go 0 out of 4, and that's nothing to be embarrassed about against this Dallas powerhouse.
Yeah, Dallas is looking good. And just as a reminder, this isn't board one versus board one here. This is the first round. So it's actually board one versus board four. So this matchup, this game in particular for Aristo is actually his best chance. Although Dallas's captain, Andrew Makove, is actually playing as an IM. So maybe he has better chances there. But I think, like you said, 14-2. I think maybe I'll guess. This is gonna sound so tough. I feel like okay, maybe 1.5, 14.5.
Uh-huh.
I'll take that
I,
guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be. It could easily be closer to that. All right, so we have this game between Aristo and Rahul. I'm not a big fan of the move e5, if I'm being very honest. It attacks the knight on d4, but it really weakens the d6 pawn and the d5 square, as the pawn on d6 is now no longer defended by any of its neighbors, and the d5 pawn cannot be contested by a pawn coming up to e6 or c6.
Yeah, that backwards pawn is definitely a weakness, but we see this trade actually, and that helps support that d pawn with the pawn on c6.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now we see h3 by Rahul. kicking the bishop. The bishop has a decision to make where it's gonna go. I would think either the e6 or a5 looks like the most logical to me. And like you said, this rectifies the black pawn structure a little bit, but maybe what Rahul has in mind is something with a quick c5 to try to break open the pawns.
Yeah, c5. I mean, that's technically a gambit, right? But worth it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, let's say Black plays something like bishop to e6 and we go c5. Black is not really in good shape to take, as it will hang the pawn on e5. So maybe Black should play a move like e4 first, kicking the knight, and then after the knight moves, they can follow up with a move like d5. So I think Rahul's got a slight edge here, but also he's up 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, time is going to be a huge key here for the Colombia player. Because if you're gonna get into a time scramble against these guys, especially in an end game, like my money's on the grandmaster, like pretty much every time. But we don't see this bishop e6 idea. We see that we actually give up the light square bishop for the knight, and there's your e4 move, and black just plays d5 immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we see Black having a nice center here, but the pawn on d5 can become somewhat loose after a trade. It cannot be defended by any of its pawns. White also has the bishop pair, and Rahul also up 2 minutes on the clock. And like you said, we have one of my mods in the chat, and he told me, like, you know what's so annoying about you? Like, you always go into the end game, and that's quite often what grandmasters tend to do.
Yeah, grandmasters are pretty good at chess, but they're also pretty good at end games. So I don't blame them for trading down. Their end game technique is out of this world compared to most human players. But Aristo, I mean, we've seen him earlier this season. He's definitely got some wins under his belt. He can take down some of these stronger players. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares in time pressure. He is down 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so queen e6 on the board. I think this actually hangs a pawn after what White could have done. Let's see if we can point this out real quick. I don't see exactly how we can go back. But I think White could have gone for the... Oh, we don't have an analysis. Well, anyway, White had the tactic perhaps with bishop takes f6, and after bishop takes e4. But I like Rahul's approach as well, just continuing the pressure, queen d2, followed by rook f d1. And again, White has a lot of trumps. I feel like the slightly better pawn structure and the bishop pair as well.
Yeah. So yeah, queen stepping up. Definitely agree with rook f d1 doubling on the d file. Yeah, 30 seconds. I really feel like we could look at another game, but also the 30 seconds on the clock. Like Aristo's moves are going to be coming in pretty quick here, and I would not be surprised if he makes a blunder in the time scramble.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. Yeah, there's only a 2-second increment down to 17 seconds against 3 from White. This is looking like a very bad situation for Aristo. So, maybe our predictions were a little bit on the generous side. We have a trade here on d5, but so far it's looking really good for the Dallas team.
Okay, rook c7 and doubling on the c file. And after trading that c pawn, it looks like the d pawn is backwards yet again. And now we have a trade of bishops being offered. Rook hits the queen. Queen's got to move.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that when your opponent is in time scramble like this, if you're Rahul, are you inclined to play faster, or is that a common mistake to make, or it depends?
It's a very difficult thing. Yeah, it's a very difficult tied to rope, so to speak. Because on one hand, you want to put the pressure on your opponent and play quickly. On the other hand, very, very often that's what happens, where players start to blitz along and they actually gotta get outplayed in the opponent's time pressure. So I think you have to strike the right balance, and it also depends on the position on the board. Let's say objectively you're lost. I think you should blitz along because the opponent's time pressure is your only chance. But if you are winning, I think it actually makes sense to also spend your time correctly, so that you will find the most difficult moves for them to deal with.
I was actually watching a little bit of the commentary yesterday for the FIDE Grand Swiss. I forgot who exactly it was that was playing, but I remember it was Danya and Leko giving commentary saying that sometimes when you're in a worse position, you let your clock run down on purpose because you're trying to lure your opponent into also playing a little too quickly.
Hmm.
So some cases you kind of go into a time scramble on purpose, but it doesn't seem like it's working out here. Um, Looks like Aristo just made his first blunder there, knight f8.
Oh yeah, and Rahul missed it with bishop to h3. Let's see if we can go back a couple of moves. What White should have done, I believe, in this position after knight f8, is the move rook c7, because in case black takes twice, the rook on d8 will be hanging as well. But Rahul keeps a
Mm,
dominant position. So let's go back to the live board. We have this right now. Bishop f1, bishop to c4 looks very difficult to deal with low time, and there we see bishop c4.
there it is. Yeah. So Raul maybe not finding the best moves, but finding the good enough moves, right?
Yeah, okay. The game is still ongoing though. I feel like he is blitzing along a little bit too much. He missed a direct win with rook takes g6 instead of bishop takes f7. And now white is up the exchange. But for the moment, the black king is safe on g8 and the knight on f8. And black is creating some counterplay himself with the pawn on e3 and the queen on d4.
Yeah, it looks like white's just so close to checkmating, but this queen on d4 is doing a great job controlling the dark squares and just the long diagonal in general. And looks like Aristo's still fighting on, right? He's
Mhm.
bringing his queen in. Rook all the way back to c2. This is pretty passive, but just flushes the queen out of there.
Exactly. And knight e6. Okay, queen takes e3. Yeah, the queens get traded off. White is up the exchange and a pawn, and now it's just over.
Love that. Rook c8, pinning that rook, saying, let's get that piece off the board. And this move should win the a pawn now. Maybe there's some other games that we can take a look at.
Yeah, so let's go to our bird's eye view. And we can see that that Makovey has also won his game already. So Dallas taking a 2-0. While Rahul's game is not over yet, but it's pretty clear that he is going to win. It also looks like board 3, Ivan is going to win. And then we have Brodsky also having a dominant position on board 4.
So are we going to see a sweep?
I think so. I think we'll see a sweep in round 1, and I think the question is, will we see a total sweep, or is Colombia gonna get any points on the board?
Yeah, I think the way that we've predicted it, it should pretty much be a sweep expected every round. So that's going to be tough for Colombia. But we do see some results are coming in, and the lower boards for Colombia um, not looking too good for either of them.
Well,
Um,
this game is still ongoing, and it's pretty balanced. I mean, more balanced, or well, not quite, but I guess a little bit more balanced than the other ones. Black is up the exchange. Oh, that's kind of just bishop takes b3, and the entire queenside collapses.
yeah, there it goes. And probably bishop c4 is also a pretty big threat too.
Yeah, bishop c4, picking up one of these minor pieces or the a pawn. Now this one is over. Dallas is going to win the first round with, well, I guess Brodsky's game. Perhaps Colombia can hope for an upset there, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty convincing first round here for Dallas.
Yeah, and we're gonna expect that pretty much for all the rounds here. So I don't think we're expecting Colombia to win any individual round. We're expecting maybe a point or two in the whole match. But again, this is the last regular season match for these two teams. They're just getting ready for playoffs next weekend.
Yep. Okay, we see some trades here. Ivan has two potential passes, the h pawn and the a pawn. Also, he's up the exchange. He's setting the h pawn in motion, and this one is going to be over very soon. So let's see if we can check in with Brodsky's game. We haven't had a look at that one just yet. So let's first go to the bird's eye view and try to pull Brodsky's game up. All right. So let's have a look. So this one is the most competitive of all the games. That being said,
For sure.
is black up a pawn?
Look at the clocks too, actually. This
Yeah.
would be a huge this is Colombia's sub coming in, IU, and this is Dallas's board 1, David Brodsky. So imagine this upset. That would be such a huge opportunity for the Colombia's team and just their board 4 in general.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen. Black is up 2 pawns with d5 or e5. Black is very nice pawn
Ooh.
center here. D5 just setting the pawns in motion. So I predict a win here as well for Brodsky. So I think we're going to see a sweep.
Yeah, d5 would have been a fork there, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and very nice technique here by Brodsky. B5 before, and now D5. Then I can no longer jump back, and he's gonna pick up the C pawn, and then the center D3. By the way, is a knockout blow, and
d3.
there we go.
So nice. So nice. Yeah, just saving the rook and attacking the other rook. And if you take the rook, pawn takes on c2, and there's no stopping c1 equals queen. So David getting the dub there,
Yeah, and
despite the time pressure.
exactly. And in these team matches, when all of your teammates have won, you don't want to be the guy that does not win their game. You know, like you also want to keep up with them. And I think all of them, their main goal probably today is to try to get that 4-0 score on the board.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think we'll see 16s. Like, neither of us predicted 16-0, but it's definitely a possibility. That would actually be kind of a devastating loss for this Columbia team. But Dallas is showing why they are in the CCL in Division 1 and one of the favorites to actually finish the regular season in first place. Obviously, there's still a fight that SLU has to have after this match. But Dallas, I want to mention, they're the only scholarship team this year that hasn't won the CCL before. So they're really trying to make a statement win here today to show that they're capable of winning.
Yep. However, in the playoffs, they will probably face a stacked SLU team, so every grade round will come to an end. But yeah, very convincing start of the day for them here. And yeah, they're definitely a powerhouse. I think they haven't won a major title in a while, so maybe they can do so this season.
Yeah, Dallas had a good run last year. They actually had a crazy comeback win in overtime as well against the University of Chicago. And that actually might be one of the most surprising results that I'm experiencing this year is Chicago not making playoffs. So even though Columbia is getting pretty much demolished right now, I still want to give them major props because they're in the playoffs regardless of the result, and Chicago is not.
Yeah, no, I would expect Chicago to make it. They have a pretty good team, especially given the fact that they are not scholarship back. They have Awonder Liang, they have Praveen, and I think also some other titled players. So they're also a team that always competes at the higher boards in the Pan Am. So I'm somewhat surprised to see them not making it. And yeah, a team like Columbia making it, it's definitely a great result for them.
Yep, and we have the second round about to begin. You know, we've watched this Dallas team play a couple matches so far this season, and I know that you firsthand have played against them. We watched that last week. Are there any like fun facts about these players that you like know, or have you met any of these players like in person? Tell us a bit more about the Dallas team.
The Dallas team, so let me see. I don't know them that well. So I can't reveal too much about them, but yeah, they're all very, very young and talented. It's great to see them doing well here on the chessboard, but I'm sure they're also doing well in their academics. Yeah, to be fair, I don't know them that well. Yeah, you'd have to. The thing is also with a lot of these players, I've been at SLU for a while, right? And I guess I know the players that also joined in the like some years ago. I know them a little bit better, but I feel like these players they've joined in the last 1 or 2 years.
It's a relatively young team, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yep.
So I feel like David Brodsky is a pretty well-known name. Hasn't he been there for a while or no?
Brodsky. All right. By the way, in the meantime, the games have lifted off. We have the game. Yes, we have the game here between Aristo Liu and Andrei Makovai. But yeah, Brodsky. He's been a talented junior for a long time. I think he's in the same generation as Hans Niemann and Brandon Jacobson. He is a grandmaster, so it would be interesting to see if he can push even further and see if he can, let's say, reach 2600.
And Andrew here, he's the only IM from the team. We're watching him play. He is the team captain, though, so he does have a leadership role. And Yeah, this is board one versus board three. So, what do you think about Andrew? Is he like one of these IMs that's very close to GM title, or do you know how close he is to that, or not?
I don't know exactly, but I think he was rated in the upper 2400s. I don't know how many norms he has. So I think that's definitely his main goal right now to try to get to GM. And Aristo here, here's the thing: Aristo might have some tough games with the black pieces, but with white, you're always going to get your best chances. I'm a little bit surprised with this move, Queen to E2. I would just play the move Bishop F4, defending the pawn, because I feel like here Black is doing pretty fine, right? Because now White has the isolated pawn on D4, and the main thing you're playing for, usually in this variation, is try to hold on to that extra D pawn for as long as possible. But right now, it seems like Black is a very fine game.
Yeah, bishop f4 looks like it saved the pawn immediately, but maybe there was something like knight h5 that he was concerned about. Did you see a response to that move?
Yeah, so let's see. I think after knight h5, perhaps he could have played something like bishop to e5, and Black can probably still get this pawn back with moves like f6. But f6 is a weakening move. Now you blunder your own bishop, right? So I think even though you cannot prevent Black from getting the pawn back, you have to make it as difficult as possible for them and make them make concessions. But now Black gets the pawn back with a very healthy position as their pawn structure remains completely intact.
Yeah. So even though you're losing the pawn, make them work for it, right? Because it's going to damage their structure and cost some time for them.
hmm Yeah, no, for sure. And here, I would already prefer Black's position. Black is the better pawn structure because the pawn on d4 is weak. White's pieces are somewhat active, but it's very difficult to build up any sort of attack because the bishop on d3 is perfectly blunted by this pawn on g6. And also, I really like the fact that Black has both of their bishops via and caret, as this keeps the d and c files open for the rooks to put pressure on the d pawn, but also put pressure along the c file.
Yeah, that was really well put, and we already see Aristo's getting back into time pressure again here, almost having half the time of Andrew.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something for him to watch out. H6, a clever move by Makovey. I think you didn't want to draw back to h4 because of knight f4, hitting the queen, the bishop, and the g2 pawn. Oh, I'm drawing a few too many arrows here. And that's why he
The
dropped back
octopus
d3.
knight.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I feel like even though the knight could take the bishop and get rid of the bishop pair, Aristo's kind of maybe hoping for it because, like you mentioned, the d pawn is isolated. So if knight takes either on c3 or e3, we could take back with the pawn and kind of connect our pawns again.
hmm Yeah, no, that would rectify the pawn structure a little bit, as then the d pawn would no longer be isolated. We see both sides bringing their rooks into the game, and Makovey, for that reason, decides not to trade on e3 and plays the move knight b4, attacking the bishop on d3, which has dropped back to b1.
Oh, this is really nice. Using that knight on b4 to also protect the bishop, going to a6 with a tempo on the queen.
Yeah, and that's why the queen stepped out to f3. But I don't know. Like I kind of like the black pieces in the center. Now Aristo has some chances to go queen h3, attack this pawn on h6. And you're gonna have to decide how you defend that one. Will you go king h7? Well, then you step into this diagonal. Probably the move h5 is what you go for instead of the move queen h3. But also now you might just trade off the bishop on e3 with your knight.
Yeah. Bishop a6 looked like it was a nice move, but that does give up that main diagonal, allowing queen f3. So the queen's well placed. In fact, if the knight didn't go to d5, I was wondering if we had this bishop takes h6 kind of idea, because the knight on f6 maybe would have been hanging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a nice idea. We have knight takes c3 now on the board by Makovey. Pawn takes by Aristo. And he played the move h4, showing very aggressive intentions. But how do you exactly make an attack work here? Because h5, for the moment, is not a move. I feel like g4 is way too much. And so I feel like Makovey has a lot of trumps. He has the slightly better pawn structure. He has the bishop pair. But it's not easy to, proceed here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think maybe it looks like white has a lot of attackers on the light squares. Like at some point, if black isn't careful enough, we could sack either on f7 or g6, like give up a piece for two pawns. But I think black is going to be safe enough. maybe white needs to add another attacker. I would love to play rook f1, but that bishop on a6 is being really pesky.
Oh, and look at the move h5 by Aristo. I kind of like it. I think the idea is that in case you take with the knight, now knight e4 becomes available, hitting the queen. The queen can step back to e7, but now white can trade, and after the trade, he can play the move g4, and the knight on h5 all of a sudden is trapped because the knight on e4 controls that f6 square. So I think that's what Aristo has in mind. I really like this move, is it finally creates some counterplay for white.
Wow, that's a deep tactic and a really nice find by you, but also by Aristo. Do you think how would you respond as black here? Would you take or would you ignore it?
Well, it's a good question. We see Makovey ignoring it with the move bishop e7, attacking the queen, which was also an idea behind the move rook c7. But the drawback of this move is that now the b5 square is available, not for the moment, as the queen is under attack, but in case white moves the queen, I don't know, let's say the h3, knight b5 would be a serious threat, forking the queen and the rook on c7.
Yeah, so maybe the queen doesn't want to go to h3 and keep an eye on the d1 rook because knight b5, you could pick up the queen, but it could cost you maybe both your rooks.
Yeah, no, perfect observation. And that's why he goes queen e2. Like you said, in case of a move like queen h3, then black could have taken on c1 and d1 in that variation. But now knight b5 is a serious threat, and I'm not quite sure how Makovey is going to deal with it. I really liked this position before, but look at this, Joe. Now the pawn on g6 is under attack, and knight b5, so perhaps some problems for black.
Wow. Yeah, that's actually huge for Aristo, and you can tell Andrew's kind of feeling the pressure. Look at his clock go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, again, like Aristo, I think he's very capable of getting points on the board. So you know, a sweep, I don't really see it happening, like a perfect sweep. Oh, knight takes h5. Isn't knight b5 winning here?
Wow, the double question mark here. Does Aristo have the confidence to pull it off? I feel like you kind of have to.
You just go for it. Otherwise, you're just down a pawn with a bad position. So knight b5 on the board. Perhaps what Makovey is banking on is the move bishop a6, pinning the knight. But does all of that work out? I mean, white can take on d6, black takes on e2. You take on c7, black takes on d1. And for the moment, the material's even. But we see the evil bar all the way in white's favor.
Wow, so there's something that Andrew must have missed here. This pin does look annoying. I mean, it looks like the trades work out. What are we missing?
Well, let's see. Perhaps if we go down that variation, so knight takes d6, bishop takes c2, rook takes c7, bishop takes d1, the pawn on f7 is hanging. Let's say you take that one. All of
Wow.
a sudden, the king side is collapsing. I also wanted to update our viewers that Rahul has already won his second round as well, so that is why we see Dallas having a 5-0 lead.
Yeah, Raul gets a quick win there on board 2. But this game, we have to keep an eye on this. This is an awesome, awesome match here from Aristo. And we were mentioning like his board 1 versus board 4 might have been the easiest pairing in terms of maybe rating. But obviously, Andrew's IM. So he is the only IM on this Dallas team. So this actually might be where Columbia gets most of their points. So if he can convert this, and I think he can, that'll be a very impressive win.
Yeah, he should. He is up a pawn. Oh, wait, is it a pawn? By the way, bishop takes g6 is a very nice move because look at this. With bishop takes g6 on the board, white would threaten knight h6, take bishop h7 and knight g6. Let's see if black sees that. If you don't address it, let's say you play a move like a5, knight h6 will end the game. But this one does defend against it.
But now, can we kick that knight around with the pawn?
Perhaps, yeah. e4. Okay, goes g4. Okay, don't. Oh, knight h6. Look, and he sees it. Takes bishop h7 as mate. You have to go king h8.
Wow. King h8, knight in. You kind of have to go with the exchange here.
Yeah, you have to give up the exchange. Takes and king g8. And yeah, Aristo is certainly winning here, but it's not over just yet. Black's pieces are jumping around, both players low on time. So it's not over. It's not over just yet.
Yep, it's not over until the win is on the board. So right now, Andrew's got 5 seconds. He's threatening some discoveries. He could win the white rook, but looks like we have some checks of our own.
Yeah,
Nice fork to neutralize that threat.
Yeah, very practical decision by Aristo. Trading off, now he's going to collect the queen side, rook c6. This should be a win for Aristo, and he just needs to keep his nerves together right now.
Yeah, he's gonna pick up both of these pawns. Um, I love this kind of symmetry between the bishop on d1 and the knight on d4 because they're both kind of boxing each other out. I'm not sure, like, typically it's the bishops that box the knights out, but in that case, the bishop was on the back rank. All right, I think White's just trying to trade off some pieces here.
Yeah, this should be a win for Risto, but yeah, it's not over until it's over. So perhaps we can check in with some other games. So let's pull up the bird's eye view and see what is going on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew resigns at some point there, but still something to play on for, of course. But yeah, how are the other games going?
Yeah, so we see that Ivan also wins, so Dallas right now taking a 6-0 lead. There's, with a knight on the board, there's always still potential for a fork. But let's see how Brodsky is doing. Let's see if we can pull up that game. So we see, this one is looking very complicated. But it feels like Black has just blundered and Brodsky is about to checkmate in the next couple of moves. Queen d8 is a checkmate here. Knight f8, and knight to f6, and he finds it. Yep.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, those knights too strong. Queen, nice back rank there. So Brodsky improving to 2-0, as expected. And yeah, Aristo, board 1. I mean, his game's still going, or is he about to close that? Oh, he finished it.
Yeah, so very important game there for Colombia. I mean, at this point, it is safe to say that they're going to lose the match, but you don't want to get swept. You don't want to lose 8-0. So definitely important to get for the team to get that win. And yeah, it will be interesting to see how they will do. So let's look at the scores from round number 2, Joe. And we see here that Dallas has a 7-1 lead. Aristo, the only one scoring an upset for Colombia. Again, very important one. What else stands out to you here?
Well, I'm just thinking about our predictions, right? You said 14-2, which you're exactly on pace for. So if they repeat this in the second half, then you're going to get some gifted subs from me, I guess. But I'm expecting maybe one more draw from the Colombia team in the last 8 games. But we'll see. But we're going to take a break, I think, before the next round starts. But still plenty of chess left to be played. And after this match, we also have Mizzou versus SLU, basically the grand finale to the regular season.
For sure. Yeah, so definitely a great start here for Dallas. And yeah, so we have lots of exciting stuff coming up. And yeah, so let's see what's going to happen after the break.
We do have the college ambassador program that we want to mention. So if you're a college student who wants to help grow chess on your college campus, join the team and get back into Chess.com at your school. Benefits include diamond memberships, exclusive Chess.com merch, which I'm wearing right now, by the way, career opportunities, and even meeting chess celebrities like Benjamin Bok, for example. So use exclamation point cap in the chat.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And also Chess.com has some new bots, so let's check them out.
La partita a scacchi di Marostica è una grande rappresentazione collettiva.
2020 l'interruzione della partita è stato come spegnere improvvisamente la città.
Purtroppo sono stato qui in zona il paziente zero del Covid. Questa prima edizione dopo la pandemia è senz'altro un'emozione.
Questo è l'anno più importante per la città, per noi, per tutti. Do un'occhiata al meteo. Mamma. La partita di quest'anno è una questione di vita o di morte.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2023 Collegiate Chess League presented by SIG. Right now, you're watching UTDallas versus Columbia University, but after this, we will have more chess for you. We have Mizzou against St. Louis University. And Joe, right now, UTDallas leads Columbia 7-1. What stands out to you about the first two rounds?
Well, we're not surprised by the score, but we definitely saw an awesome win from Aristo, Columbia's board one and team captain, against Dallas's team captain, international master Andrew McCovey. So that was a very exciting game. That was really well played by Aristo, and if you can get another point like that in the second half, then your prediction of 14-2 will come true. I'm hoping maybe that Columbia doesn't get another win in the second half, as sad as that sounds, because I guessed 14.5 to 1.5. So I don't know. Who do you guys think has the better prediction?
Good question. I feel like, yeah, I guess it's somewhat expected that all of the GMs of Dallas will sweep from now on, but you never know. Aristo, we saw he's very capable of scoring upsets, and he will play with the black pieces against Ivan. So definitely not an easy matchup. I played Ivan, 4 games last week, and I think what was our final score? Something like 2-2, I think we tied.
Yeah, he's a strong player. Definitely one of the toughest players in the league. Obviously, one of the heavy hitters for this Dallas team. And he's got the white pieces, like you mentioned. So Aristo's got his work cut out for him. He's got 2 more games, 2 more grandmasters, including Dallas's top board, David Brodsky, in the final round. So this is round 3. I think that Arista could definitely pull off an upset still in either of these last 2 rounds. And maybe this Colombia team could surprise both of us and outscore both of our predictions.
Yeah, and as we can see, we are already off in round number 3. We see Aristo defending himself with the King's Indian, and Ivan going for a very fashionable setup with h3 and bishop to e3, h5, and look at this. He doesn't even defend the g4 pawn. He just goes queen d2. He's saying, be my guest. Go ahead and take on g4, as that will open up the h file, which is where your king is located.
Yeah, so Risto castling pretty early, which is kind of like what you teach chess players. Like you want to get castled early, and you want to hold on to all your pawns and all of this. But we see Ivan he's not castled. He's giving up a pawn, maybe even 2 pawns. Right? He's gonna maybe castle long if he castles. But it looks like Ivan's game plan is pretty set solid here. He's just gonna go for this king.
Yeah, for sure. Knight g3, still playing very quickly, which tells me that he has looked at this recently. And Ivan, he's definitely a big name in the Collegiate Chess League, but also, if I'm not mistaken, over the summer, he knocked out Sam Shanklin in the first round of the FIDE World Cup. So, very strong player, and very exciting to watch him to watch him play here.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're paying attention to that, and obviously there's the FIDE Grand Swiss happening right now, right? Which your teammate is playing in. Are there any other like really big tournaments that like these college kids are like doing both at the same time?
Yeah, so actually, Robbie, he is playing a tournament right now in Florida, and actually, Luka Budisalzevic, if I pronounce that correctly, and Josiah are playing in that tournament as well. So I think one way or another, they are able to make it to today's round. Also, by the way, Robbie, he recently played in Qatar, where he played none other than Hikaru Nakamura. So it's really awesome to see that a lot of these chess colleges, they also support players in big over the board events, because usually they will pay for their expenses to go to these tournaments.
Yeah, that's awesome that these players, they're not only balancing the Collegiate Chess League, their schoolwork, but also other chess tournaments and other fun events. Like last, or was it 2 weeks ago, you were playing from TwitchCon in Vegas?
Yeah, no, that was I was in Vegas. We had a match against the UTRGV, Rio Grande Valley, and fortunately, it wasn't like right in the middle of the day, so I just played from my hotel room. But unfortunately, we lost that match by 1 point.
Yeah, that was your only loss of the season. So that is unfortunate. And this Dallas team also only has 1 loss, but from you guys. So there's kind of an interesting like battle between the Texas schools and the Missouri schools. Obviously, UTDallas and UTRGV are pretty tough. And I think that's what makes the CCL so exciting. Like, even though this matchup in particular, we're seeing kind of a one-way fight, but for like these top schools, depending on who's playing that week and just like how the players are playing, you don't really know who's going to win. So I think that in the second matchup today, Mizzou and SLU, it would be a good thing if you guys have Theodoro, because obviously we saw you guys actually beat this Dallas team without him. But I don't know if SLU can beat Mizzou without both you and Theodoro. So I think they need maybe at least one of you. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it looks like Theodoro will be able to play. He finished this round more or less an hour ago at this point. But yeah, the one match we lost against UTRGV, we missed Nicolas and we missed Robbie. So that was definitely a big miss for us. And also last week against UTD, like you mentioned, we missed Nicolas, and the match ended up being very close. So we also have strong subs, but I do hope that in the playoffs we will be able to have our strongest lineup.
Yeah, if you guys could have everyone playing, I think it's very, very difficult to beat you. But obviously, it depends on the availability. Like, I'm not sure how much longer these tournaments are lasting for your players, or if they could make it both work. But that also kind of leads into like how valuable and important the bye week is. If you can make a top 2 spot, do you think that'll help your team out?
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, by the way, we have some interesting developments here in the game between Ivan and Aristo. Ivan's still down. Well, he's down 2 pawns, but he can game 1, but you were referring to the bye week. Is there such a thing?
If you make the top 2, you don't play in the first
Oh, right.
round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that definitely
So
helps because there's one less week you have to play and get a team together. Yeah.
yeah. So okay, we do see bishop to h3, and there's a good question. Why not play just bishop h3? And actually, now after knight h7 attacking the bishop, we might just see exactly that.
Yeah, I would be tempted to go bishop h6 here, trying to trade off these bishops. Black cannot take twice, as the threats along the h4 are just simply too much for Black to handle. And I'm actually curious what Aristo has in mind after the move bishop h6, because once that move is on the board, White would threaten to take on c8, then take on g7, and come in with the queen on h6. And also Aristo down almost 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, this is not so easy to defend. So if you're Ivan here, are you playing bishop h6? Or, I mean, yeah, there's really not any other options here. So what's Aristo's response here?
Very good question. I don't know. Maybe you have to go bishop f6, pulling the brakes, and it might not even be that bad. White can take on c8, then take on f8, but Black will recapture with the queen, and Black should get pretty good control over the dark squares. Now, what I would do here if I was Ivan is I would take on c8, and I wouldn't be too much in a rush, I think, to take. I would maybe go queenside castles, followed by rook f1, rook g1, and knight f5.
Yeah, yeah, you could see a lot of players might just want to immediately grab on f8, right? Like, hey, that's a rook. That's more valuable than the bishop. But in this instance, we see Aristo put the bishop on f6, voluntarily giving up the rook because the king would actually be safer without this h6 bishop on the board, right? Because then the bishop can come back to g7 and really guard these dark squares that are pretty weak right now.
And so we see Ivan castling queen g4, a nice move by Aristo. He wants to go bishop g5 and trade off a lot of pieces that would definitely alleviate the pressure. And I don't see right away how Ivan can keep the pieces on the board. Bishop g5 is coming, I think, regardless, like even in case of king b1 or in case of a move like rook dg1.
Yeah, and it's especially important now not to take on f8, because if bishop takes f8, bishop g5 is going to hurt.
Yeah, no, indeed. Yeah, if you take bishop g5 and you lose your queen. So king b1, he's stepping out of the diagonal. And now I do expect bishop g5 from Aristo, and there it is. And as we see, the evil bar has slid down a lot. So Aristo might not be doing too bad. I would take here with the queen, I think. And if you can get king g7 and rook h8 going, you might be doing well. But do you have the time? Because White has very quick ideas like knight f5 and rook g1.
Knight f5 is a brutal move, just trying to open up that g file, bringing the rook to g1 with tempo against the queen. Yeah, Aristo now less than a minute on the clock. He's been defending really well so far, but I think this is going to be very similar to his round 1 game, where in the time pressure he's going to finally make his blunder.
Yeah, and I think the pressure on the board and on the clock combined will be too much, and especially with such a weak king. So let's also update our viewers that Rahul has already won his round 3 game, which is why we see that Dallas has an 8-1 lead, and he goes king g7. I think now knight f5, or perhaps starting. Oh wait, what? Knight f5? Isn't that just GG or
F5
knight
just
h5?
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the check, picking up the queen. So, yeah, I agree. Aristo, I think, is done at this point. But we could look at the bird's eye view to look at some of the other games going on.
Yeah, one quick note. If you take the queen right away, Black gets a rook and a knight. But you can take the knight on h7 first, and that's what Ivan does. So, but yeah, let's have a look. I think we
Nice
should
tactic.
go to... yeah, nice tactic. I
He
think we
gets to
should go to...
double it.
Yeah, and Aristo resigns. I think we should go to this game on board 4 of Andrei Makovey. Let's. You want to go to that one?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This one looking great for Black. Black up a pawn, and look at this bishop on b1.
Oh my God, how did it get there?
I don't know. It's sad. Like, how does it ever? Well, c3. That's how it's getting back into the game.
Can
I
Black
don't
play
think
c3? No.
you could definitely make an argument for the c3 move yourself to make sure that White does not get that move in. Let's see if Makovey is going to go for it. I'm sure it's something he's considering.
Yeah, and Andrew's getting I know is spelled On Discord, his username is Andrew, so he maybe
Aha.
goes by both. But I don't think it's too big of a difference. But he's got over 2 minutes. IU has 5 seconds. Okay, 7 seconds now. But okay, yeah. H2 is hanging with check. The king moves. Yeah. I don't think Andrew's gonna mess this up.
I don't think so either. You do have to be somewhat careful though. After c3, white would be threatening the h7 pawn. But it's interesting, right? I see a lot of these players, they move to the US and they Americanize their name a little bit, right? His name, I think, actually is Andre, but he probably, he might go by Andrew. And I've also heard other, for example, there's Grigoriy Oparin, who well, I always call him Greg, but I don't know if he actually goes by that.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's interesting though. Yeah, and you're like pronouncing Ivan as Ivan, and I'm like, I don't. You probably know better than I do, but that's probably right. I'm definitely being the American pronunciation. Oh, Bishop G3 is gonna hurt.
I think so, but there might be knight takes e6 attacking the queen, so it's not that clear cut. So that is why we see Andre pausing here. So let's have a look. So bishop g3, knight takes e6. Maybe you can recapture with the rook, as the rook on e1 is also hanging. But I'm looking at these variations. So knight takes e6.
Oh,
okay.
Wow, knight f2 check first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if rook takes e6, there was queen g4.
Yes, picking up the knight. But I think now you just take it. There's just too much stuff hanging.
There's a lot hanging for sure. So queen g4. Watch out for checkmate. Don't take on d1. You could take on e1.
Oh, yeah, he's starting checkmate 1. I just realized. That is how we get to, 14-2.
It's possible. I don't think...
Oh, what? He hung checkmate!
Oh, my God! Oh, no! Wow,
let's see if we can get the player's reaction. Like, wow, what a miss by Andre.
Oh, wow. And this is the board 4 from Colombia coming in clutch, taking down an IM.
Wow, I didn't catch the reactions live, but what a miss by... to be honest, I didn't see it either. So, yeah, that's how he missed it. Yeah. But
yeah, sometimes it takes a non-titled player to see. Yeah, I was gonna point that out, right? If you didn't have played knight f2 first, because you took the bishop on e6 with tempo on the queen, that bishop was defending the knight on g4.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, queen g4, nice little move there, and kind of like a Eric Rosen moment, right? Oh no, my rook.
Wait, 1 second. Did white hang his queen right before the checkmate?
Wait.
Yo,
there's. Oh my God!
You can take the queen.
I was thinking that too. I was like, wait, if the knight was on g4, the queen's on g4.
Yeah, I was like,
oh my goodness.
I didn't even think about this one either. Okay, well, crazy turn of events. Goodness. Instead of taking the queen, black gets himself checkmated, and Colombia gets another win on the board.
That's a classic, like, confusion tactic, right? Like, it's just a move that you would never expect, but it's so
because
brilliant.
It's not a move. Because it's not a move. And then your opponent plays it, and you're like, wait, I did not see that one coming.
Wow. So I'm kind of nervous now, because if Dallas sweeps in the final round, you're going to get the score right on the head.
Mm-hmm. And, I think that's very much possible of happening. So, we are on a delay, so I'm watching the stream right now. So let's see if I can catch the player reactions. But, I see McAvey putting his hands in his face. He definitely did not see that one coming.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What a rough sequence of games there. I think Andrew was crushing, and
look at the player games. I see Aristo laughing there. He probably saw what just happened in that last game. Yeah, instead of taking a free queen, we see mate and 1. All right, so we are off to the last round. We have Aristo playing with the white piece against David Brodsky. And so let's see if Dallas can make that sweep happen.
Yeah, anything can happen in Blitz. I mean, credit to IU for that. Someone's mentioning that might be the biggest upset in the tournament. I think those two players are almost 1,000 rating point difference. That would be insane. I don't know what are the odds of that happening. It's got to be minuscule.
Well, what are the odds happening of white hanging their queen and instead of black an IM taking it, hanging mate in 1 against, what is it, an 1800? I think the odds are, 0.001%.
Well, we saw it, so we're blessed. Even though Dallas is going to get the win and Colombia is going to lose this, I think that game alone should be reason enough for them to smile. At least it's putting a smile on my face.
Yeah, no, I think everyone. Well, I think perhaps except for Makove, everyone can laugh about it. In the meantime, we are off to round number 4. We see Aristo here playing the Scotch, a very interesting opening against David Brodsky, and the other games have lifted off as well. But yeah, very interesting opening here.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping Colombia gets another point somewhere somehow, so that I don't have to owe you some subs. Or is it me owing you subs, or Chess.com gonna owe you subs? I don't know.
Both of you can give me some subs. It's all right.
Or
Anyway,
we could split it.
Yeah, that also.
But yeah, I think that we weren't baking on that checkmate to happen. So who knows? Maybe you and Andrew have some sort of agreement that I don't know about.
To be honest, I did not see it coming at all. I did not see that the queen was hanging, and I also did not see that white was actually threatening mate on 1. So, incredible turn of events right there. All right, so let's see what we have. We have a pretty interesting opening. I wanna let's perhaps pull up the bird's eye view, because the one game that is grabbing my attention is the game between Zewang and Ivan. So let's go to that one. We see that Ivan has captured a pawn here in the middle of the board, but white often gets pretty good compensation with a quick queen h5 combined with f4.
Yeah, h6, g5, definitely pretty weakening for this king over here. So maybe some chances here for Wang.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, to me, queen h5 looks like the move, hitting this pawn over here. I wonder what Ivan has in mind. The thing is, Ivan is also playing very quickly. Look at this, 4:55 still on his clock. So I guess he's looked at this recently.
Yeah, a lot of time. I've seen like Awonder play with more time on his clock than he started with in the game. So some of these grandmasters can play super fast, especially when they're playing against some of the lower rated teams. But we don't see queen h5. We see rook to e1 instead. And so does that kind of like go against your f4 push idea?
Yes, so we see here that white has sacrificed a pawn in the opening, but usually when you sacrifice a pawn, you have to follow up with very energetic play, because if you don't, you will just be down a pawn for insufficient compensation, and your opponent can try to beat you in the endgame. So I think rook e1 is not in the spirit of the position. Again, I liked queen h5 much better, with the idea of f4 blasting open the f file, and perhaps you want to swing the a rook into e1. And Joe, I'm looking at the bird's eye view. Let's see if we can pull that one up, because there's one game I definitely want to show to our viewers. We saw that Andre lost that game with the black piece, allowing checkmate in 1, and perhaps he's gone on a little bit of tilt. Look at this, knight f3, knight g1, knight f3, knight g1. What?
He's taken a page out of Awonder's playbook. Mentioning Awonder earlier, we've seen him do this against Virginia for one example. So when you lose 2 games in a row, maybe this is how you respond. I don't know. I feel like probably he should try to stick to his normal openings, but he's just having fun here. This is not a playoff match. This is still regular season. So the impact of this game maybe not so significant, but you don't want to lose 3 in a row, right?
No, definitely not, especially not against a team that has players that you're much better than. Right, so Andre went down a pawn for a moment, but he has already regained it. Black has excellent development though, almost all of their pieces into the game, whereas Andre still has this bishop on f1, which is not easy to develop. You can go e3, But after move e3, you cannot move it out just yet, as they will hang the pawn on g2. So you might have to play a move like g3 first before you can move it up. That being said, Andre definitely has some long-term advantages to work with. He does have the bishop pair, and there is an imbalance in the pawn structure, especially in an endgame. He can perhaps create a passer on the king side.
Yeah, and what's awkward about e3, g3 is if you ever put the bishop on g2, maybe queen d3 prevents you from castling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't even go queen e2 there because then your rook on b1 hangs.
Yeah, no, that's a very nice point. Also, bishop a6 would be annoying. So I think Andre should develop his bishop to e2 or to c4, but at least on that diagonal. I think moving it to g2, as you pointed out, is not the way to go. But look at the clock. He's fully playing the clock here. He's up, what is it, 2.5 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. If you're not playing for the clock and you're playing knight g1 a handful of times, then I don't know what else you're going for.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, I think Hikaru in Title Tuesdays, he has played the move a3 or a6, and it would often be called the disrespect opening. The thing about moves like a3 and a6 is that it's not even that bad. If you play a3 on the first move and you follow it up with normal chess, you will, especially with white, you give away your opening advantage, but you're not all of a sudden worse. Whereas if you go knight f3, knight g1, knight f3, knight g1, you give 4 moves to your opponents, then you end up in a much worse position. But here it seems like Andre is already flipping the script. I like this move, queen h5, attacking the pawn on f5, and perhaps he can increase the pressure with bishop to h3.
Yeah, I liked your idea, bishop c4, developing with tempo against the rook, but I also like this idea, queen to h5, because it attacks both pawns, and maybe black could have defended both with a move like queen d7, although bishop h3 is pretty aggressive in that line, so black's just going to give up that h-pawn.
Yeah, no, I like it by Edouard. And I think what black has in mind, like let's say you take the pawn on h7, I think what black wants to do is go knight to e5. Because if you take the knight in that variation, you hang the pawn on d2 with checkmate. Now you can take after queen d2, there is king f1. But knight e5 definitely nice move by Edouard, and I think he wants to go either knight f3 or knight d3. I would go to f3, force white pretty much to give up their bishop to make sure that the light squares are always weak around the white king.
Yeah, I mean, would you play king h1 or king or g2 there, or would you take the knight?
Good question. I think I would try to avoid giving up my knight for the bishop. Yeah. That being said, the knight on f3 is a very annoying piece. I do also expect that from Makovey. I don't think he's going to give up his bishop pairs that easily.
Yeah, king g2 makes sense because you're also... Well, you're not threatening to take the knight there. This bishop on b7 is a really annoying piece. Right now, it's kind of blocked by the pawn. But also moving the king now, is there like... Would you take on d2, or is that not a good idea?
I think that's going to be a little bit too risky, as black would get himself into a pin after rook bd1 or rook fd1. So I think that's a little bit too greedy. We were talking a lot about Makovey's position, but look at the clock. He's up 2.5 minutes, he's kept the time advantage, and now Edouard is getting down to his last 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think despite the opening, Andrew should be able to convert this. We see a trade. Rook d1 now, and maybe black can use the h-file.
Yeah, right. Not for the moment, as they would hang the rook. He goes rook d5. I think he wants to double up, but now d3, a clever move by Makovey. You cannot take as that leaves the knight hanging. And with the position opening up and black's time, I think Andre should win this one.
Yeah, less than 10 seconds now for Edouard. So knight comes back, maybe h4 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, h4 makes sense. However, you do have to be careful about stuff happening on the long diagonal. So I would be tempted to just close it with the move d4, and that's what Andre does.
Nice. Yeah, doubling the rooks now, maybe like bishop c4, as you're pointing out. Very logical.
I think black is doing quite all. I mean, right now also Andre has the advantage on the board, but I just wanted to point out that the fact that black is way down on time is going to cause his downfall here.
Yeah, bishop c4 is there. Trade off that knight, taking on c5. That c-pawn's isolated now.
Okay, bishop a5. I think he should have gone bishop d4, picking picking up the pawn, is here black still has rook d5, moving the rook and defending the c5 pawn. Rook b5, clever move.
Yeah.
Maybe rook c6 to defend. Oh, why? Oh, this is starting to become somewhat scary.
Ooh, bishop there. Yeah, check. And you get rook d8 check as well, but the king can defend on e6.
Right, but then maybe you go rook g8 attacking this pawn, and hey, if you can bring in the second rook as well, then you start creating some pretty scary threats. So it's looking tough for Eduard, who's also, again, way down on time.
Yeah, it's really hard to play against these players with just the increment. It is 2-second increment, so he's maybe not going to flag, but the risk of blundering is very high.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's see what Makovey is going to do. He's taking his time. Also, in the meantime, as you guys can see, the score is now 11-2, as Rahul has won his game on the last board. And Makovey gives a check on e8. Okay, king of 7, and now brings in the second rook.
Yeah, so I think Rahul swept, right? 4-0.
I think so. Yeah, I don't remember him giving up a point.
Yeah, we've been watching a lot of Aristo. We've been watching a lot of Andre, but not so much the other players. But we do want to give a lot of credit. I think Brodsky also just finished 4-0 against Aristo. So yeah, 2 results. We only have 2 games left. This game, it's kind of up in the air, right? Like, it's pretty even. It's just this time disparity is pretty large.
Yeah, and now we see Makovey sacking a pawn. I wanted to go to this game of Brodsky's real quick, because I don't know what happened. It seems like Brodsky is in a losing position, but white flagged.
Oh my goodness.
The 14-2 prediction is coming to life.
Wow. Well, to be fair to the prediction, if Andre didn't blunder the mate, and if Aristo converted this one, then it would have still been the same score. But maybe we got there the same way, just a different, or the same result, but the different way. So an unfortunate flag from Aristo when he's working so hard to be beating such a strong titled player in David Brodsky. But there's still this Edward and Andrew game. Also, we just saw Ivan won his game. So one final game left in this match. Is 14-2 going to be the final score, or are we going to see an upset from Edward?
I'm becoming somewhat worried. I mean, Makovey, I think he's just worse here. Black has got a very active king and a bishop on d3. Now the other rook can come in, and the rooks are not fully coordinated. He does still have that time advantage. So let's see how he will, put his rating advantage to work here.
King d1 there. That's an interesting move.
Okay, the computer gives that a question mark, but it looks very logical to me. If he wants to go king c2, kick the bishop away, and then set the c pawn in motion. Rook g4, rook a3.
Oh, computer does not. Well, so yeah, the rook on a3 defends the bishop. So how exactly are you gonna break through?
I don't know. But okay, rook f4 on the board. Okay, the question is, okay, rook d7, bishop d4. He wants to go rook c3 perhaps, but even that doesn't do a whole lot. So let's see, 7. Okay, bishop d3, solid move. I think you got to try to include this rook. Rook f8, rook b8 looks like a nice plan to me. He moves the king up instead. Okay.
So you're rooting for white. I'm rooting for black. Is that what's happening right now?
Yes, I'm rooting for white, as I predicted 14-2. Rook d5, okay, rook d8 maybe.
Rook f8's on the board.
Bishop c3 check. Okay, let's see where it's going to go. Okay, rook b8 looks logical to me.
c2.
Bishop d4 back.
No, bishop back.
King g3. Black can always
draw
play,
would also
of course.
Be good for me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
h5. H5 is a nice. Now the king is wide open. Rook g2, scary.
Whoa.
King of 5.
All
Wait, this is getting out of control.
Hold on. You got to move the e rook. Yeah.
Rook b8. Rook b8. Go rook here and here. Takes a pawn. Okay.
Oh, there goes a pawn. Check.
This is wild. a4 check.
Okay.
King of 7.
Wait.
F6.
Oh, block.
I predict a win here for white. I think he's just going to push the a pawn up. Yep.
Yeah, the a pawn's pushing.
Push.
You
do get behind the pawn. Oh,
sacking.
Apparently this is losing. Wait, d5 maybe just, and rook c7. But he's got 20 seconds to figure it out. d5, okay, c2, I expect, and rook c7 to stop. Okay, d6. I think that, I saw all of this coming. I knew that Andre was going to blunder mate on 1, and that then he was going to win game number 4 after going knight f3, knight g1, knight f3, knight g1.
You foresaw.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough. Yeah, the extra a pawn is what's going to do it.
Yep. And now that's
there
an
goes
extra
the last
queen.
chance. Stalemate? No. All right. Wow, Bok, we brought you in for the first time, and you were able to guess the score immediately correct. Awesome.
Yeah, on the dot. I mean, yeah, this was a very close last game, but yeah, very convincing victory for UTDallas. I think McAvey, he might be somewhat unhappy that he goes 2 out of 4, but his teammates definitely got the job done. And yeah, let's have a look at our final scorecard. So here we see it, Dallas winning 14-2 with a sweep in the final round.
Yeah, exactly as you predicted. So basically 7-1 for both halves. Colombia getting that really nice win from Aristo, and unfortunately he couldn't convert in that last round against David Brodsky. He lost on time, but we did see that really awesome upset win from I believe it was Ayuf Kamate from Colombia, that board 4, getting that checkmate in 1 with the queen hanging, dramatic fashion. So Andrew finishing the last round with a crazy knight opening to get his final win. So Dallas, they have a convincing win. They're definitely going to be in the playoffs. They're right now in sole lead of first, 6-1, only losing to SLU, and SLU has a chance to tie them and actually surpass them on tie breaks if they win against Mizzou. That's going to be the match up next.
For sure. Yeah, and also we have something else coming up for you. So buckle up for the 2023 US College Blitz Championship. This premier competition will display top talent in American college chess as the rising class battles for dominance in high-speed chess. We're covering the action this Sunday, November 5th at 12 p.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/Collegiate Chess League. Use !CRB in chat to learn more, and we will see you there. All right, so also, Joe, this competition will have prizes, and perhaps thanks to Bobby Fischer.
The Chess World Championship has been a prestigious title for well over 100 years, but oftentimes the prize money was lackluster. Chess in the 19th century developed without an international governing body. World championships were negotiated between players, with challengers expected to raise large enough stakes to entice a title holder to compete. The first official World Championship in 1886 had a substantial prize purse, fitting for an inaugural event. Subsequent championships failed to generate substantial purses. It would take 35 years for the World Championship's prize purse to surpass the amount raised for the first championship. Something magical happened in chess. A new challenger from the United States pierced the Iron Curtain and threatened to end Soviet dominance of the sport. Bobby Fischer won the candidates matches in 1971, earning him the right to play Spassky for the world title. Fischer was different than other players of the time. He didn't just want to be the best player, or the most dominant, or even the most famous. He wanted to be paid. Fischer grew up in abject poverty in Brooklyn, New York, and was highly motivated by money and earning what he believed chess players were worth. The storylines were interesting and diverse. USA versus the USSR. West versus East. Capitalism versus communism. The world was ready to see these two superpowers battle it out on the chess table. Fischer's demands continued to impact almost every variable of the event, including the location, the chessboard and pieces, and of course, the prize purse. Fischer even had the audacity to demand a share of the ticket sales and broadcast royalties for the players. At one point, it looked like the event might not even happen. Fischer claimed the prize money was too low, despite it already being the highest in history. Fischer's calculated moves paid off when a wealthy business owner doubled the prize purse, raising it to $250,000 or $1.7 million today. Fischer and Spassky shared a prize purse bigger than all the previous World Championship prizes combined. After their match, Boris Spassky stated to the press how grateful he was for Bobby Fischer and how the money from this event was going to change his life. Bobby Fischer single-handedly raised the profile and catapulted chess into a mainstream sport followed by millions of people. Fischer had ensured that not only he and Spassky, but every World Championship competitor after them earned a deserving prize.
I'd classify trading as a game really that you're playing with competitors and basically every market participant in the world. My path, I came in as a poker player, but I think that the main thing that everybody has in common is a sense of competitiveness and interest in gaming and strategy in general. Yes, you can actually use gaming skills for your career and for something to do on a day-to-day basis.
We have Mizzou versus SLU. But before we get to that, I have a very special guest, Alyssa Melakina. This is our Career Opportunities for Chess Enthusiast segment presented by SIG. I've read a little bit about you. I'm very excited to have you on as a guest today. There's so much to learn and I have some awesome questions. So I can't wait to get into this. First and foremost, how did you first get into chess, and also what made you decide to pursue a legal career?
Sure. Well, thanks so much, Joe. Nice to meet you, and I'm happy to be here. I know you have a full day lined up of exciting matches, so thanks for taking the time to speak with me. So my journey in chess has spanned a few decades now. Like most of the players here, I learned from a young age. My dad taught me when I was 5.5 years old. Very common pastime in Eastern European culture. I played in my first tournament in the World Open in Philadelphia when I was 7, and from then on, competed in scholastic events, World Youth Championships, everything in between. And yeah, chess is still part of my life ever since then.
That's awesome. And that's so cool that you started so young and you're still doing it to this day. I think that's very inspiring to a lot of people out there, including myself. So obviously you were a student, you studied at University of Pennsylvania for law school, and you, I assume, played chess then as well. So I was wondering, what kind of advice could you give to our viewers? A lot of them are actually college chess students. And how could you use your chess skills to maybe help further their careers?
Yeah, so I played chess very actively throughout undergrad. I went to Drexel, and then I went to UPenn for law school. And looking back at my chess career, it was actually interesting because I found that my major milestones in chess were achieved during those years in school, which seems a bit counterintuitive because you would think that you would have less time to study chess at that point. But I feel like I was riding the momentum from the work that I had put into chess during grade school, playing at the elite levels on the world youth stage. So that carried me through a bit. But I think I was just very highly motivated to stay within chess because that's just something that I grew up with. And it's something that was different from what other people were doing. So I would find a way to work it in my schedule. When you're in school, you still have summers off. So you can definitely take advantage of chess tournaments then over holiday breaks. So I would say it's not even a question of time management because a lot of people think, oh, you won't have time when you're in school, but it's more of a question of prioritization and motivations. And priorities are extremely important. So if you go in with the mindset that chess is something that you still want to pursue, I promise that you will find time for it. It's just more up to you in terms of what you want to get out of it, because you might be facing conflicting career decisions or being at career crossroads, which I've written extensively about. So as long as you have that perspective, I think you will figure it out.
That's so awesome. That's really cool that you had a lot of chess accomplishments during school, which, like you said, you might expect that to be a busier time of your life. But obviously, since graduating, you've done so much more. You're a lawyer, you're a FIDE master, as well as a women's international master. And you've even written a book, I think, called Reality Check, which is so cool. Maybe some of the viewers would look into getting your book, but you've also, on top of all of that, you're actually a co-founder of a chess league of your own, which I think is super cool. Obviously, after graduating, you're doing all this stuff. You're working, you're writing books, you're working on leagues. You're mentioning how time balance and like priorities is so important, but how do you do it? Like, I'm sure you also have like a personal life on top of all of this. It seems like a lot. How do you do it?
Yeah, that's the question that I still grapple with. And maybe a caveat to what I said earlier about achieving most of my milestones while I was still in school. I also had the greatest period of volatility during that time. So while I achieved my peak rating and, achieved my highest honor of a gold medal in the World Team Championship event, I also achieved a lot of lows in terms of just bombing tournaments and losing a lot of the rating that I had gained. So there were a lot of ups and downs. And part of that was because when I would come away from a tournament, instead of taking the time to digest what happened and learning from my mistakes, I would immediately try to escape into what I was studying at the time or into that other world, and it would be highly fragmented. So there would be periods of high activity and concentration in one sphere, and then I would dive into the other one when things weren't going well. Grappling with the ups and downs has definitely been its own challenge. And I've just always had to grapple with, how do I keep up with chess in my day to day? So like you were saying, how do you find the time to do it? So I would say I just find ways in which I can combine my interests and activities in one outlet. So, for example, the New York City Corporate Chess League, which you mentioned, had actually come out of this idea of, how do I keep up with chess while being a busy professional and maintaining that social and personal life? And then the idea for the New York City Corporate Chess League was born, which seemed like an obvious idea at the time, because we had a lot of friends in the New York City area who were working in finance, business. I was at a law firm, and there were chess enthusiasts at all of those places, but we were lacking a place, a forum to come together over a competitive atmosphere, but keeping it friendly and having that outlet to meet people, to network, and to have a shared experience. So that's how the Chess League was born. And that's one way in which I can keep up with chess while building out my professional profile and keeping those friendships alive from chess, which are very important to me. So I will say, just look out for those opportunities where it doesn't have to be just doing chess or just doing academics. It could be, doing more than one thing at a time, which is why I think the Collegiate Chess League is a fantastic initiative to bridge all of those gaps.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that a lot. But that's so cool. You're mentioning the New York City Corporate Chess League and how you're kind of combining work with like your hobbies and your passions, and that kind of helps with the time management to combine them. So about this New York City Corporate Chess League, I'm very curious. I actually saw you had a blog written about it, and Chess.com even had a team compete at one point. And actually, one of your featured grandmasters, Nicolas Checa, he's actually playing in the CCL for the Yale team. So I think there's a lot of overlap maybe between the Collegiate Chess League and the New York City Corporate Chess League. And maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the New York City Corporate Chess League and how fans can stay in touch. And maybe we could work something between the CCL and the NYCCL in the future.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, because I imagine that a lot of the college chess players competing in the CCL will go on to work for firms, for example, like SIG or any of the other banks, consulting firms, financial institutions, tech companies such as Google that we have competing in the league. And this year we did something different where we held it over the summer. So that gave interns a chance to compete as part of the teams, which I thought was very cool and just bolstered that, friendly atmosphere, that inclusivity that we're aiming for. So if anyone is interested in learning more about competing in the New York City Corporate Chess League and submitting a team, if your company doesn't already have one, just feel free to get in touch with me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I would say that's probably the best way to get in touch about these types of things. And we can help you locate a team, if not already, and get you on the listserv. So right now, the New York City Corporate Chess League, it's more of a private enterprise. I co-founded it with Alexandra Wiener, who used to be at Goldman Sachs, now at Apollo. And she's also a great person to talk to, by the way, if you want to have her on the show. But we're a female-founded league. We started in 2018 before the pandemic, and we started off with just a handful of teams. We're meeting every other week. And then since the pandemic and the chess boom, in the last iteration, which was a single-day knockout event, we had 20 teams competing. Each team has 3 players and an alternate that can sit in. And we experimented with various match formats, but we thought that keeping it to 3 people on the team was a good way to give busy professionals, enough of a leeway in case you can't field a full team of 4 people while still keeping it competitive. And the games are not rated, which I will say is actually a big draw for a lot of the people competing, because these are busy professionals and they're just looking for a way to find time in their busy schedules to meet other players, find a common time to meet. It's a fantastic experience. So basically the idea came out of, hey, we have all of this conference and corporate space available. Why don't we just set up some chessboards, pretty low cost way to do it. We have catering on, and it's easier said than done. There's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. It takes months of planning, as I'm sure organizing any type of chess league. But it's a really phenomenal, one-of-a-kind event. And we definitely welcome more engagement, and we want more teams to keep building this and growing this. So happy to talk to anyone who's interested in this.
Well, I'm certainly interested. So I would love to stay in touch with you, and you explained it so well, and I think that there's a lot of potential for it to continue to grow. So thank you so much for being a part of that and starting that for all these chess enthusiasts to play, compete, and sounds like a fantastic networking opportunity as well. So you've been a lovely guest. You've been incredible, and I'm really honored to have been able to meet you, and I hope that we can stay in touch and talk more, because I'm sure you have so much more knowledge and experience to share. So thank you for your brief time here. We're going to let you go. But before we go, we do have another guest coming up and a quick break before that. So thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Bobby, dude, your decimal course is taking forever, man.
What are you wearing?
Dude, I always wear this.
Well, why are you wearing it?
Dude, I'm going on Piers Morgan in 5 minutes.
You mean that Piers Morgan?
Wait,
Hans is on right now.
what? You interviewed Hans instead of me? God.
In this video, I'm gonna show you top 5 scholar-made attempts in Champions games. Before we dive into the games, I would like to show you the pattern if you have not seen it yet. Well, this happens when white goes with 1e4, black responds with e5, and white plays queen to h5. This queen gets into the game way too fast, attacks the pawn on e5. Now black plays knight to c6, guarding the pawn, and white goes with bishop to c4. White's 2 pieces are attacking on f7 and would like to capture this pawn, and if black is careless and plays knight to f6, then we have queen to f7, and this is a checkmate. Scholars Made attempt 2 by Hikaru. Here we have this game between Hikaru and Filipov Anton, and we have 1e4, e5, queen goes on h5, and g6 once again. Hikaru plays queen to f3. Once again, gives a try to checkmate black's king. Black says, no, I see that, and knight to e2. We have seen already this kind of position earlier in the first game, so black plays bishop to g7 to make sure that the king is castled, and here Hikaru goes with d3. Black responds with d5, attacks right away in the center. White captures this pawn, and black goes with knight to b4. The pawn on c2 is hanging, so white has to play bishop to b3 to guard this pawn, and now we have knight to d5. And here we have this endgame where white has very active pieces. Both rooks are controlling the open files, and the bishop is controlling this diagonal. As you can see here, those pieces are concentrated mainly on the queen side, they are not actually so active. And the king is all the way here on the king side, just alone. So white is using this and plays rook to e7, gives a check. If king goes on the back rank, it will be a checkmate. So black goes to king h6 now, and here we have rook to d6. The pawn is hanging, and it's not just a pawn, it's going to be a checkmate. So king goes back on g-file, plays g6 to guard the pawn, and we have bishop to c4 attacking the rook. But what is actually the idea of this move is that white wants to play bishop to d3 and checkmate this king next move. There we go. This is the checkmate that happened in this game, and second attempt of Scholar's Mate in fact worked out. This game has ended in 39 moves. It was not a checkmate in 4 moves, but I think White got really nice play on the king side.
Welcome back, everyone, to week 7 of the Collegiate Chess League. This is the final week of the regular season, presented by SIG. And speaking of SIG, we actually have one of their guest representatives here, the one and only Connor Jolly. Connor, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to have you here. And I have a first question, is kind of a two-parter. First off, tell us, what exactly is it that you do at SIG, and what is your personal connection to chess?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be here. At SIG, I am a trader, and traders do quite a few different things. We have a lot of different financial products that we trade at SIG. I personally focus on international stocks, international ETFs, and so on a day-to-day basis, I'm evaluating what stocks are good to buy, which ones are good to sell on sort of a short-term basis. I'm doing some computer science work, working on trading algorithms and stuff like that. So I'm using computer science skills. There's a math component, being able to quickly do math to evaluate decisions, and also to think about the theory of some of the trades that you're making. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I first learned how to play chess in elementary school. My dad would drive me to local chess tournaments, and it was a fun part of my life while I was growing up. And then I didn't really continue it when I got older, but during the pandemic, I sort of got back into it, as many people in the country did. And then once I joined SIG, there are a ton of chess players there. And so I was able to join that community. There's this North American Corporate Chess League, and I've been playing in that and having a ton of fun with that. So it's kind of had a resurgence for me. And so I really enjoy playing it whenever I can.
That's so cool. I love that you started as a kid and then you kind of maybe took a break, but now that you're working at SIG, you joined their team in the North American Corporate Chess League. So that's so cool that you're competing again. And it's even cooler to me that you're actually representing your company, SIG. You're on a team. And I actually looked up the league and the team roster list. You guys have like 40 players, which is like one of the most in the entire league. And you're also teammates with your coworker, Andrew Tang. So that's actually really funny. But I wanted to ask, SIG, obviously, they value chess and gaming skills. And it's really cool that they're supportive, not only of the Collegiate Chess League, but also of its employees to compete and play in these chess leagues. So do you think that your chess skills or strategy has helped you at all with work? Obviously, SIG doesn't think that it's hurting you at all, right?
Yeah, certainly. It's definitely a celebrated part of the culture, and it's nice to have the corporate chess league team, and of course to play to have some big names on the roster like Andrew. But yeah, it's certainly the kind of thinking that can help you at work. There's a lot of pattern recognition that's similar in chess and trading, both in a tactical sense. Like, for example, if a company were to report earnings and it was really good, you might make a split decision to quickly buy their stock, or maybe it was bad and you want to sell it. But there's also, in addition to tactical thinking, there's the strategic thinking, the sort of long term. Is this piece going to be good? Is this piece going to help my position until the end game, or is this piece going to really harbor me? And it's looking for general market trends. So it's both the fast tactical thinking, but then also the long term strategic thinking of what are some macro trends that we're seeing on a day to day basis in SIG. And so working on those skills through playing chess, studying positions, studying patterns, that's the same sort of thinking that we do at SIG on a day-to-day basis, and what I do every day at work. And so, getting into that by use of a game has also helped me at work.
That's so cool. I love the analogies comparing your actual trading at SIG to kind of like trading pieces in a chess position or like in an end game. So you're always thinking ahead, and it's really cool that your passion for chess can kind of translate to what you do at work. And I think my last question for you, Connor, is for any of those college students out there that are playing chess and maybe thinking about their future careers, what kind of advice do you have for them to be able to use their chess ability and their skills to try to further their career, and maybe in particular get into maybe SIG or any other sort of tech space?
Yeah, certainly. And I think there are two ways to look about it. One is the general, acquisition of, pattern recognition and a deep study of the game, and going through, study patterns and developing good habits like that can just help you in any academic sense and in any job sense. Being able to dive into something and really learn and understand it is something that you can apply to many different fields. And then there's also the aspect of, things like interviews. Like if you're trying to get a job as a software engineer, you're going to have to do some coding interviews. If you try to get a job at SIG, there's going to be math type interviews. And so you're never going to sit down at a chessboard if you've never played the game and just automatically get it. You have to put in some real work and some real study if you want to get to the next level of the game. And similarly, when you're thinking about your career, really putting in a lot of study beforehand. Companies require study in the same way that you have to study for classes. You also have to study for these interviews in these companies. So just make sure you are dedicating a lot of time to that, the same way that you would if you're trying to learn a new opening or learn how to solve some endgame positions. That's my advice to everybody.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Connor, for that. And I'm sure you have some fans now in chat that maybe they'll want to follow your games in the North American Corporate Chess League and cheer on SIG and Connor and Andrew Tang as his teammates. So that's really cool. But thank you for your time. Appreciate having you. You've been a blast.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Good luck to all the players out there.
Thank you. So speaking of the players out there, we have another match for you all to look at today. But before we do that, let's take another quick look at the live standings. We just witnessed Dallas take down Columbia, which puts them at sole first, 6-1, only losing to SLU, who is up next against Mizzou. And SLU has an opportunity here to take down the first place spot. But the good news for Dallas is they're guaranteed at least top 2. So they've actually won some of the prize fund. Plus, they have a bye next weekend for the first round of playoffs. Benjamin, thank you for joining us again. I wanted to ask you, how confident are you feeling with your SLU team taking on Mizzou without you playing?
I think it's going to be a close one. It's definitely good that Nicolas is playing. I feel pretty good about Nicolas, Robbie. They're very experienced blitz players. However, Mizzou, they might be a little bit stronger at on the lower, especially the lowest board, where they still have an IM and we have a player playing with a rating of 2440. So I hope that Robbie and Nicolas can carry the team, and that the points we get on the other boards will be enough to win the match.
Yeah, you mentioned the board 4 mismatch. You guys have Sila playing on board 4, I believe. She's a newer player, is that right?
Yes, it's her first year at SLU. I believe before she was at UTRGV, so I think she transferred. And to be completely honest with you, I don't know if so I suppose she's a sophomore.
Okay.
Hmm.
So she's an insider. You guys kind of stole her,
Yep,
recruited her.
Lore from UTRGV. And as we speak, we have already lifted off. The game between Sila and Oparin has started, so let's go to that one. We see e4 by Sila, and Grigoriy plays the Caro-Kann, and we see the two knights attacked by white, bishop g4 by Grigoriy, bishop e2, and now e6.
Yeah, I actually saw, I think one of your teammates posted that they were at a Metallica concert last night. So Sila maybe having been out last night now has to play against Grigoriy Oparin, board number 1. At least she's got the white pieces, right?
Oh, they know more than I do. I mean, had I known that, then maybe would have had someone else play. But, well, we see a pretty interesting opening here. Usually, players first bring out their knights. But look at this. Grigoriy brings out both of his bishops, and perhaps he's looking to take on c3 and then on e4.
Yeah, they say bishops before knights, but or sorry, knights before bishops. Right? I mean, kind of they're interchangeable. It's important to develop both, but we see Sila brought out the knights, and Oparin's bringing out the bishops, putting pressure on her knights. Is that a big deal? Do you think this e pawn has to be pushed or traded off?
I think Grigoriy would be happy to see the move e5. We see it with castles by Sila. So I wonder what happens in case black takes on c3 and then takes on e4. But I think Sila has a move like knight d2 or knight g5 in mind to regain the pawn in the foreseeable future. And it will also weaken the dark squares, and perhaps a potential bishop e3 could come in. Also, let's have a look at the bird's eye view, as some other games have lifted off as well.
Yeah, before we get too deep into the games, I have to ask you again. You had such a good prediction the first match. What's your prediction for this one?
I predict a very close one, but I predict an 8.5, 7.5 victory for SLU.
Wow, that is so close. That is really close. I think I'm gonna go with the Mizzou team, but by the same score, 8.5, 7.5, Mizzou.
All right. I see how it is. Or, well, you know what? I predict this one. I predict that, again, we're going to see like triple or quadruple overtime, something like that. I think
Oh, okay.
it's definitely going to be a close one.
So this is definitely going to be a nail biter. This is such a dramatic finish to the regular season. Before the season started, these two teams were top of the standings. SLU was number 1 and Mizzou was number 2. So right now, SLU with a win, they can finish top of the season ahead of Dallas and hold on to that sort of preseason standing. But if Mizzou can upset them because they're missing their star player Benjamin Bok, then Dallas will be top of the leaderboard, and SLU. I don't know how exactly the tie breaks would go down, but SLU would maybe still be second place because there's going to be a multi-way tie for second.
Yeah, I believe the tiebreakers are that in case there's a two-way tie for a place, then it's mutual. It's the head-to-head result. But if there's more than two teams, then you look at board points. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is definitely correct. Obviously, we have UTRGV having already finished the season with a record of 5-2. Right now, SLU is 5-1, so losing this would tie them with not only UTRGV, but also with Mizzou, who is currently 4-2. So we would have a three-way tie for second. And I think SLU would still have good chances of getting second place there if you guys win by a big enough score. But the question is, can they do it? Because you and I have both predicted this to be very, very tight match.
Yeah, I think, against a strong team like Mizzou, you cannot hope for a big victory. Like, you're happy with any victory, like if you win by 1 point, that's good. So as we're looking at the bird's eye view, let's go to this game between Dambasurin and Michal Antipov, because this is the game that is looking the best for SLU. So almost all of the pieces are on the board, only the B pawns have been traded. And we see that Dambasurin has his open file for his rook. And what I like here for white is that the pawn on c6 is somewhat tender. White is the bishop on the long diagonal. That can put pressure on the pawn. And also some squares here are a little bit weak. The c5 pawn, the c5 square is somewhat vulnerable. And if Antipov would go for a move like e5, white has ideas of knight e4 to d6.
Yeah, 94 definitely is on the menu for white. And I think that Mizzou is happy to have their top boards here playing against the lower boards from SLU. But obviously, like, Batsurin is such a strong player. He could play on any of the boards. But he's got white pieces here against Antipov. And so that might be a little bit of an advantage. And did he just snap off a pawn there?
Yeah, he did. Black does have to move knight c7, hitting the queen, and the bishop could be hanging as well, but there is queen to b3. We see queen c7 by Antipov. I wonder what exactly the idea is with this one, but it's definitely looking good for Batsurin, who is up a pawn. So let's see if he can convert this one. That would be a great start for SLU.
Yeah, I'm curious. Antipov was pretty quick to give up the pawn and then play queen to c7. So usually when you're giving up a pawn like that, you have some sort of follow-up, some sort of continuation. And you mentioned knight c7 because that would reveal a discovery attack from the rook in the corner, and the knight on c7 defends the rook. But with the queen on c7, the knight can't go there anymore. And so actually the pin is going the other way, where now the knight can't move anywhere.
But I'm getting confirmation in the chat. Talia said two team members went to Metallica last night. Well, it would have been great if the captain was informed, so I could have made an informed decision. Anyway, we see move knight g5 by Dambasurin. And also, Mr. Christian Karila is saying we need an 11-5 win to get the bye in round one. Nothing else matters. I think, yeah, that's true. We've looked at the standings before. If SLU gets 5.5 points on the board, then we should be seeded into the semis directly.
Okay, so SLU, I guess the captains, as you mentioned, have done their research with the standings. So it seems that SLU is really just trying to get 5.5 points. They don't necessarily care about winning or losing. The 5.5 point mark is the magic number that they need to get at least second place, right? But with a win, you guys actually get first place. So it actually still matters, right? The seeding is important.
Right, but then I wonder exactly how it plays out, who we will play in the semis. By the way, this move, knight db8, is looking quite peculiar by Antipov, moving his knight back to defend this pawn. It looks really passive, and I like Dambasurin's chances here.
Yeah, actually, what's interesting is Chicago beat Yale. That was the other match that we weren't able to watch yet. So I think with Yale's loss, Mizzou should be higher seeded than them. Mizzou might end up playing Yale, which is interesting because Yale actually beat them earlier in the season. So if I'm not mistaken, Yale's finishing 3-4. But if they won and Mizzou lost, then Yale actually would have passed Mizzou in the standings. But Yale did not win, unfortunately for them. But they're still in the playoffs. So we'll see who they play. We're not sure how this is going to finish. So these games right now, this is really important for the playoff bracket.
Yeah, so it's looking good for Dambasurin. However, he does drop quite far behind on the clock. He's almost down a minute. He is a pawn though. So let's see how this one will play out. And let's perhaps go back to our bird's eye view to check back in with some other games.
Yeah, there's so many exciting matches happening right now. It's hard to stick to one for too long. So we'll definitely keep an eye on Batsurin's game. That one's definitely going to be a contested match. It looks like Luca for Mizzou is actually doing really good on game 3 if we want to check out your teammate Robbie.
Yeah, so let's pull that one up. It seems like Robbie is down a pawn. I don't know exactly how he lost that one. And the pawn on c6 is quite weak. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, both Robbie and Luca are playing a tournament in Florida, but they did manage to find a time to play today. However, it seems like for Luca, playing over the board and online is working out as a better recipe. As right now, I don't see what Robbie should do. G4 is a big threat, attacking the knight. If the knight would move, the bishop would be hanging, which is why Robbie moves the bishop back to h8, and Luca plays the move G4 anyway. This is not looking good for Robbie.
Yeah, we see the knight takes the bishop there, but what exactly is the follow-up here? Is the rook going to go to the f-file?
What do you make from, like, Luca? He's clearly playing from a hotel room. Is he just playing from his laptop in his lap? And Robbie, I guess, is also playing from a hotel. So pretty interesting scenery here.
It'd be funny. You said they're both in Florida right now.
Yeah.
It'd be great if we saw them in the same room together playing.
Mm-hmm.
Luca looks very comfortable.
Yeah, that has actually happened once. I think when Eric Hansen and Magnus Carlsen played each other in the BCC, they were in the same room. All right, but 95 on the board by Luca. I mean, you can take, but you can't take twice because of queen f6 and you get checkmated. So I don't know. I don't like it for Robbie. The pawn on c6 is weak, f7 is weak, and you are down a pawn. But he's a very slippery player. We saw that last week where he was dead in the water against Brodsky, but he saved the match that took us to overtime.
Yeah, that was quite the finish from Robbie. He was definitely going to lose, but somehow, some way finds this brilliant clutch for the draw, which forced overtime, where SLU ended up winning in triple overtime, thanks to your performance, Ben. And that's going to be instrumental. Like if they're able to, well, okay, this last move looks like it just blunders the c pawn. No.
Yeah, but you not only hang the c-pawn, 97 is coming as well, like queen e8, 97, and
wow, 97 regardless.
So that's going to be a lead for Mizzou. I don't see Robbie coming back from this one. All right, so also, it's not looking good on board one. Let's pull up the bird's eye view. We can see that Oparin has a winning position against Sila, but perhaps SLU can come back on board two, the game between Dambasurin and Antipov.
I like that you're saying not looking good. Definitely not for your teammate or for your team, but from the other team's perspective, maybe it's looking pretty good, actually.
Yeah, well, it's looking good for Mizzou, right? So I think it's going to be critical for Dambasurin to win his game. Let's perhaps go to that one. We see that he is up a pawn, I believe. The rook on D2 was under attack.
Oh,
D2.
boy.
And we're in a time
Computer
scramble.
does not like this move. Yeah, time scramble for both players that are at 10 seconds each, living off the increment. We see a queen trade. How to close this one out? The D pawn is hanging.
I think
the knight is hit as well.
Yeah, like I think Dambasurin has completely thrown the advantage, and maybe if anything, Black is better right now. So let's hope he can at least get away with the draw. Dambasurin, he started off the season really well. I think he was also on a perfect score for a while, but in the last couple of rounds, he has also conceded some points. I feel like this one with perfect play, it should be a draw. Maybe 96.
Okay, hitting the rook. So the rook hits the knight. Knight's got to move.
Knight
or you can
B7.
attack the other knight.
He goes back. Okay,
No,
it looks
just
a little
back.
bit passive. Rook D2.
Yeah, rook
by
D2.
Antipov. C6, knight D3, rook F1, 4, so 95. Okay.
Yeah,
One is weak.
Antipov's playing really quickly here, pushing.
C5, good
Is
move.
the knight going to come back to D6?
I think so, yeah. And there we have it on the board. G5, good move by Antipov, creating some love for his king.
F4 is not a threat, by the way. If you push the F pawn, you're getting mated.
H5, he's trying to create some squares here. King G2, maybe a 94, by the way, hitting this and this.
The turn has 1 second.
94, okay, rook E2, maybe just back, yeah.
For shuffling. They're both less than 10 seconds.
Gotta move, gotta move, gotta move.
1 second.
Okay, with point 8. Oh, 93, check.
F2 is going to hang.
Oh, you have to
check.
wait. We have to hope for King H5 and King H6 will be a terrible blunder, but you can go to F6. You can take a G4, very important move.
Takes.
Okay, now knight takes F2 maybe. Rook H4, good move, stopping rook knight H3. Oh, what is going on? And 2 seconds for Antipov, F5. Wait, maybe a check. And rook H2, I like rook H2. Leaving, he goes rook H6.
Oh my goodness. Black's threatening mate in 2.
I think he's lost now. Gotta move the rook. Knight H2 is a big move here. Rook G2, okay, not over yet. Picks up a pawn. Knight C7.
Where's the knockout for Antipov?
I don't see it just yet.
Is there
Pushing the
knight
pawns.
f2? No.
Okay. Oh, tricky move. If you take there's knight d4. This is not over. Rook c4, amazing find by Antipov though. Knight f2. King.
There's one check. Rook is
and
hanging.
if you queen. Wait, where's the.
Oh
Wait,
my
that
goodness.
was not the move. That was not the move. He blundered. He had checkmate somehow. Knight e4. King h1, only move. King h1.
That sword has
finds
a
it.
queen.
King g1.
Is it perpetual?
I
It's
think
just
so.
perpetual.
You can also go knight
You
g2.
give the
King
check.
g1.
Wow, he's going for more.
But I don't see how.
Discovery?
King h1. I think it's just a draw.
No, just perpetual.
King back.
Wow.
King
What a
back.
crazy game.
What a game.
That's it. So what did Antipov miss?
What he missed right here is the move. Oh, knight h3 check.
Knight
King
h3.
h1. Let's show that on the board. Knight h3. King h1. Knight
Only
f4.
move.
King g1 and rook
Only
g2.
move. Wow. That would have been insane to find in that time scramble. So the players end with a draw on that one. And we have one last game, and it's in a time scramble if we want to quickly go to that one.
Yeah, this one should be headed for a draw between Josiah and Nicolas. We see a rook in game, equal pawns. So we see that Mizzou takes a 3-1 lead going out of the first round.
All right. So Mizzou starting off on the right foot. How are you feeling about that? Are you worried about your prediction?
Yes, well, I do hope that at least, like we said before, we get at least 5.5 points on the scoreboard. It's good that we have our top player, Nicolas, playing, but yeah, our players will have to step it up a little bit. And yeah, so we see that Mizzou opens up the lead on board 1 and on board 3.
Yeah, so no actual wins for the SLU team, just 2 draws, and Mizzou getting wins on their top board from Oparin and from Luca, who we saw playing from his bed at the hotel room. So he's pretty comfortable right now with the 1-point lead. Do you think SLU's got a lot of chances to come back, or do you think Mizzou's going to hold on to this and win?
I think SLU has a good chance to come back. In the next round, Robbie and Nicolas will have the white pieces, so they can definitely score wins there. And Dambasuren, you know, he's a strong player. I don't know exactly who he will play, but I think we have chances for a comeback.
Yeah, definitely still lots of chess left to be played. I think Mizzou is definitely happy with that first round, and they're going to try to complete the season with a win here. So they're up by 2. We saw last week, SLU actually had a pretty dominant lead going into the last round, and then they almost threw the match. But now it's kind of a role reversal. SLU is behind, which is very rare, and they're going to have to play a little bit of catch up here. So do you think the Metallica concert had anything to do with that, or do you think they're still fine?
Perhaps, yeah. Well, we'll see what happens in the second round. And by the way, it's pretty interesting. We saw that Oparin played the Caro-Kann in the first game. And here we see Dambasuren playing the same opening against him with the black pieces. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen here. Knight d7. All of this is pretty standard. d4 by Oparin. And White can sometimes hope here for a slight edge. The problem for the SLU team is the fact that Nicolas, he just finished a game at the Grand Swiss, a very long round, and also he's 10 rounds in, right? So he must be feeling some fatigue.
Yeah, I mean, that is a brutal tournament, and it's got to be pretty exciting though for you and the team to be following his games, and it definitely means a lot that he's able to compete in both pretty much at the same time. So I was curious, you were mentioning team captain making team choices on, you know, who's to play and whatnot, but did you talk to the team at all about your decision to commentate instead of play?
Yeah, I mean, they were all right with it. So, I mean, I do trust in the team to get the job done today, but it will not be easy. Mizzou is a very stacked team. I do see them as our biggest competitor, and I'm somewhat surprised to see that they lost 2 matches. I mean, look at their team. They have GMs on the first 3 boards, and their board 4 is a strong IM. So I'm surprised to see them 4-2.
Yeah, well, similar to you guys with Theodoru missing sometimes, Mizzou's top board Oparin has been traveling the world competing, and so he's been able to play these last 2 weeks. But the week before that, when they lost to Yale, Oparin was actually not part of that team, and so that's a huge reason why they lost. And the same could be said about your SLU team, right? Like it's kind of hard to imagine them losing, but obviously the match against Dallas was super close, came down to the wire there, and you guys actually ended up losing earlier in the season to UTRGV. So, like I said earlier, you never know with these matches. Kind of depends on who shows up and how they're playing. At their peak, it's definitely very competitive. I think SLU is the favorite, and they are the defending champions too, by the way. But obviously, with the regular season, there's a little bit of flexibility there with like who's playing. But do you think in the playoffs you would choose commentating over playing, or do you think it's time to get serious?
I think during the playoffs, I will definitely try to prioritize playing. So we'll have to see exactly how that will shake out. But yeah, I think indeed, if SLU has all of their players, then I do think we are the favorite. But yeah, like you said, that's definitely been a dynamic that's been in play throughout the season, right? Can every team have their strongest players play every single week? And the answer is no. The problem also for the SLU team is that we have four GMs. So if one of us cannot make it, then already there's quite a big difference in the lineup. Whereas other teams, they might still have, let's say, a fifth GM who can sub in.
Yeah, and Mizzou also is a team that has they have the ability to put on four GMs, but they're deciding to play with their board four Josiah, who's a veteran on the team. And you guys, even though you don't have all four GMs now, you definitely have very talented board four. And Sela actually had a huge win in the overtime against Dallas for the team win. So definitely still capable. But interestingly, the chat poll gave this match a dead even 50-50 for who's going to win. So the chat is divided on who's to win. But maybe after that first round, maybe we'd switch some votes around. I'm not sure.
Yeah, perhaps I should have I should have voted in the chat as well. That would have given SLU the slight edge. But in the meantime, we have an interesting move here by Oparin. Queen b5, hitting the pawn on c5. And you cannot take on d4, as that will hang the knight on d5. So I'm curious to see what Dambasuren is going to do here.
Yeah, but Soren, I mean, that first round game was so close. Like, I feel like he had chances, and then he was losing, and then ended up getting that draw because the missed win from Antipov. But maybe Oparin with the white pieces is not going to be so kind. But there is definitely an advantage here for white. So what exactly are you seeing after, like, do you think he's going to trade queens?
Yeah, but this
Looks like
endgame
it.
was actually looking quite good for Oparin. He's got the bishop pair and an extra pawn. After knight before the pawn on c2 is somewhat awkward to protect, though, because if you do so with the move rook e2, you do allow rook d1, and then you're pinned on the back rank. So let's see what Grigoriy has in mind here. Maybe he can create a counter threat with something like bishop to g5, hitting the pawn on e7.
Yes, and there's no f6 fork because that f pawn is pinned by the bishop. But c2 is definitely hanging, and it's going to hang with some tempo, right? Like, if you take with a knight, the rook on a1 is hanging. If you take with the bishop, you're attacking the bishop on b3. So this is definitely an awkward position for Oparin, and you can see he's actually investing a little bit of time here. We see the eval says that white is favored, but I'm not sure exactly what the best continuation is from here. But he plays your move.
Yeah, he goes bishop to g5, hitting the pawn on e7. Okay, Dambasuren quickly takes with his bishop on c2. So let's see if he will take, and if so, how. Both moves make a lot of sense, bishop takes or rook takes. And I don't know, I personally find it difficult to figure out which one is best. I guess maybe with the rook, because if you take with the bishop, you're always going to be in a pin. But that being said, look at the clock. Dambasuren up a minute, so let's see if he can put that to work.
Yeah, Oparin thought for a bit there to play bishop to g5, but Soren was ready for it. He pounced on the c2 pawn. He was expecting bishop g5. And he said, I'm going to take on c2 anyways, and really put Oparin into the time think tank. He's definitely deep in this thought process here, and I don't know if it's going to be good to think this long, especially now that you're getting close to a minute, whereas Batsurin is chilling with almost 3 minutes still left on the clock.
Yeah, he decides to take it with the rook on e7. All right, so I guess Dambassurn is going to take with the bishop on b3. You could also trade off the rooks first. So let's see what he's going to do. It feels like, if anything, white is pushing for the win due to that extra pawn for the moment. Black perhaps can get it back, but that's not easy to do. So bishop takes b3. We see Grigoriy trading on e8, and perhaps now move like knight d3, hitting the pawn on c5 and b2.
Yeah, I like how Batsurin traded the bishop first and then the rook. And I was kind of thinking if given the opportunity, maybe white had some sort of rook takes b7 idea. But no, the rook is traded off. And now instead of going for your knight fork, he's going for the rook fork, hitting the bishop and the pawn. White could try to save that with bishop e3, but then I feel like knight c2 is going to be very annoying there.
Exactly, and knight c2 should pick up the pawn anyway, because you hit the rook and the bishop on e3. So let's see, maybe Grigoriy has the move bishop to d2, attacking the knight on b4. And one thing that's also somewhat annoying for Dambassurn are the dark squares around his king, which are always going to be somewhat weak. I wonder what he has in mind after bishop d2. Maybe to move knight c2 again, hitting the rook and trying to pick up this pawn over here. But let's find out, because if you go to, let's say, d3, then white might have the time for something like b4, defending the pawn on c5.
Yeah, bishop d2, like you mentioned, and I'm going to love this bishop on c3, getting on the main long diagonal and really target those dark square weaknesses that you pointed out, and maybe even some back rank threat ideas to follow. But looks like Batsurin, he's still up on the clock, still over a minute ahead of Oparin. But Oparin's going to definitely pick up the pace here, and we're going to maybe get into some sort of time scramble soon.
Yeah, so let's see what Dambassurn is going to do. By the way, in the meantime, Antipov has won his second game as well. So Mizzou takes a 4-1 lead. But let's see what Dambassurn is going to do. This one is definitely important for the match. If he can save a draw here, that'll be a nice half a point for SLU. Is there perhaps another game that is grabbing your attention?
Definitely. I think we should definitely take a look at the bird's eye view so that the people can see Antipov had a somewhat quick win over SLU's board 4, so not too surprising there. But I'm looking at this board 4 for Mizzou on game 4. We have Josiah Stearman with the black pieces actually taking Robbie out for a spin. So what's that game looking like? And Robbie's maybe having a rough start to this tournament.
Yeah, he is currently down 2 pawns, and he's currently ahead an exchange for 2 pawns. But Josiah can take here, and then he will be up 2 pawns. That being said, if you do that, you weaken all of the dark squares around the black king. White can go bishop f6, queen h6, and try to checkmate. Also, Robbie is up a minute on the clock, so I feel like objectively this might not be correct, but maybe he can figure out a way to trick Josiah in the upcoming time scramble.
Yeah, it's a good point. So would you take the rook and weaken your dark squares, or do you keep your bishop around?
Good question. I think it's all about calculation, and Josiah does decide to take and play the move queen b2, so perhaps we can go to that one. Bishop f6 quickly by Robbie, hitting the queen and defending the rook in the corner, but now black is a very nice knight c3 to block and bringing the knight back into the game. And then the question is, where exactly do you go with the rook? I guess the f1, but the problem is, after rook f1, you never, it goes queen d2, trying to maybe trade off the rooks with rook e1, which would actually give black a strong attack.
He's also keeping an eye over the h6 square, right? You don't want to allow queen h6. So knight c3 was kind of missed. It was kind of an awkward move, putting yourself into a pin like that, but you are renewing the threat on the rook. But also, I'm curious, rook e1's obviously a huge threat. So there's really no time to give up the rook for the 2 minor pieces, right? Rook takes a4 is kind of off limits.
Yeah, also because there's queen d1, which would pick up the rook right away. So rook e1, big threat here for Josiah. Perhaps Robbie has to create some love for his king with the move h3. This game is really crucial. I feel like it can still go either way. Robbie is down 2 pawns, but Josiah way down on time. He goes bishop f1 instead. Let's see what black is going to do here.
Could you still do rook e1, or is... Okay, now knight c3.
Knight c3, good move by Josiah, aiming for knight e4 or knight takes d5 to try to get rid of this bishop over here. I don't know, it's looking tough for Robbie. He does have that time advantage, but I don't really see any tricks.
Before this game wraps up, I want to maybe we could quickly look back at game one because they're kind of getting into a time scramble here. Did you want to take a look at Bird's Eye?
Yeah, well, at the bird's eye view, we see that Grigoriy Oparin has just won his game. But a game that is looking good for SLU, perhaps we can show that one as we have not showed it at all yet, is the game between Theodoru and Luka Budisavljevic. All right. Do you want to go to that one?
Yeah, let's check on Luka's and see if he can try to resist Theodoru. It looks like Theodoru might have just given up a lot of his advantage with this last move.
Yeah, g4 now black can take and take an f2, or but maybe you go king g2. You don't want to give up this one. So king g2, nice find by Theodore, and the h-pawn should decide the, I think, check, and h6 looks really good.
Wow, the eval is just spiking all over the place with this one. So time scramble, making these moves very difficult for the players to make. And rook check was found, king, making sure it's defending the knight. You think just h6 and that pawn is kind of unstoppable?
Yeah, I think so. That's just what Nico should do, just push the pawn up the board. Black can still jump back with knight f6, but maybe just rook e7, trying to pick up the pawn on f7, which would still support the pawn. And yeah, Nico, we said it before, he is at the Isle of Man. He has just finished his game, so it's good to see that he is able to make it to the CCL today. Knight c6, wow, did not see that one coming. What is that? Wait, the computer's saying
beautiful. We get the double exclam.
Okay, knight d6. Oh, he's...
Knight d6. No, he's just giving up the rook.
Okay, h6 here. This should be a win, but still some work to be done. h6, knight f6 only move. Okay, maybe a rook b1, but then, yeah, rook b1 looks pretty clean. King f5, you take, and rook b6. Take, rook b6.
Beautiful,
king of 5.
Pinning the knight. You're just starting to play h7.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Nico wins on time. All right, so yeah, and that actually wraps up this round. So
I'm still loving Luca's cam.
Yeah.
And yeah, Theodoro also like from a hotel room, right? Is that?
Yeah. He's playing from a hotel room. So let's see if we can go to bird's eye view real quick to show an overview of this this round.
We have the scores already.
Oh, do we have the scores already? Let's pull it up.
We could look at both.
All right,
so we see 3 results and a draw.
Yeah, we see that Mizzou wins on board 1, Oparin beating Damasurin. We have Antipov beating Sila. Nicolas beats Luka, and the game between Robbie and Josiah ends in a draw. I think a good result for Robbie. He was down a couple of pawns, and it did not seem like he had quite enough compensation. And let's look what that means for the standings, Joe.
Yeah, so that round, they actually... that was still a win for Mizzou. So now they have a 3-point lead. SLU does get their first win of the match, but that's kind of crazy for half the match being done and only 1 win from SLU. The rest, all 3 draws. How are you feeling going into the second half?
I feel like, you know, this round, it could have been worse. Robbie had a bad position. Also, Nicolas' endgame was equal for a while. So I think, you know, this result in the second round is not bad. And yeah, in the third round, we will see the board 1. Nicolas, he will probably play Antipov. Robbie will play Oparin. So it's going to be exciting. I think, though, for SLU, it is looking good to get to the needed score.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned that because we calculated SLU needs 5.5 points, but they're only on pace to get 5. So Mizzou is perfectly on pace for their 11-5 win that they need. But the question is, can they maintain that pace? And is SLU going to be able to pick it up and maybe even come back and win? I don't think this match is over yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. So yeah, let's hope that SLU can get it together in the next couple of rounds. And yeah, I think we are going to go on a short break, but don't go anywhere. It's definitely going to be exciting in the last 2 rounds.
The Variance Community Series continues on November 2nd with 3-Check, where you can not only win by checkmating your opponent, but also checking them 3 times. 6 weekly arena tournaments held every Thursday will be followed by a championship event with cash prizes, including a $1,000 first place prize. The third and final weekly arenas will be streamer arenas featuring gifted subs as prizes. Win any of these events to qualify for the championship and show the world what you've got. Join the Variance Club today to learn more about upcoming events, how to participate, and much, much more. See you in the arena on Chess.com.
Oh, confusing one.
Yeah, this one is a bit difficult.
What do you think? I thought that you didn't solve it for a second. Good job. So I'm going to show you some puzzles. You're going to have 10 seconds to look at the tablet, and then I'm going to take the tablet away, and you're going to have to give me the solution.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
All right. Mate in 5, white to move.
Okay.
You got it. All right.
Yeah. Queen g6, knight f6, bishop g7, rook h7.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Good start.
Okay. Queen
That was
g6.
quicker, yes.
Queen g6, knight e7, bishop f8, knight d5. No, wait. Where's...
If you go knight e7, I go king h8. Bishop f8, bishop h5.
Yeah, that's not working out. Okay, queen g6 has to be the right first move.
Yes.
Bishop. Knight f6, bishop e7, rook h7, rook f7.
That's right. Yes. Very good.
Okay. So it's queen takes g6, fg, knight e7 check, king h7 or king h8, bishop f8, and then bishop h3 or h5. Wait, bishop h5 must be played. Yeah, not bishop h3. Bishop h5, knight g5, king h8, and then knight takes g6. Is that 5 move?
So you said queen takes g6, f takes g6.
Knight e7.
Knight e7. Okay,
Yes.
we have knight f6 here.
Oh, knight f6.
Knight f6, king h8.
Oh, then bishop f8. Yes.
Bishop g7. Check.
Oh,
king
g7,
g7,
rook
rook
h7, rook
h7,
h7.
and then
Okay.
rook f7 mate.
Wait, but knight e7 is not checkmate?
Let's see. Knight e7, king h7.
Bishop f8. Bishop h5.
Bishop h5.
Knight g5. Wait, do I have a knight on g3? F3?
You do have a knight on f3.
So knight
yes.
g5 check. King h8. Knight g6.
So what if I go king h8 first instead of king h7? Bishop f8.
Bishop f8. Oh, yeah, it's
bishop
not mate.
h,
Yeah,
h5.
then bishop h5. Then knight g6, king h7.
Then
yeah,
king
that's not
h7
mate.
and I
Yeah.
pick up the knight.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Welcome back to the 2023 Collegiate Chess League presented by SIG. We're getting ready for round number 3. Joe, let's have a look at the lineups.
Yeah, we saw 2 rounds already. Mizzou have that 3-point lead, which is pretty big. This might be the biggest lead against SLU that anyone's had so far this season. So I'm really excited to see, can they hold on to this? Is SLU going to get a win in the second half and maybe overcome the deficit and win from behind? Or is Mizzou going to be able to win? And if they do, can they win by enough points to pass SLU in the standings? Because I think they need 11 points to win on tie breaks in order to take a top 2 spot in the standings.
Yeah, so we have some interesting pairings here. We have the GMs facing off each other. We have Oparin against Keflishvili. Then we have Antipov against Nicolas Checa. We have Luca against Sila, and we have Josiah against Dambasurun. So I feel like all of these pairings can really go either way. So let's see how this round will play out.
Yeah, I think for any of you watching the break, Mizzou's coach just had a comment in chat saying that it's Mizzou versus SLU, and they have Christian talking to Lee Kwang, who he's the coach for the Webster team, but that is also in St. Louis. So Christian is in the chat. He's the coach. I think he's probably pretty happy for his team right now, and they're on pace, like I said, to pass SLU in the standings. But I think SLU definitely is going to pick it up here, and we see the games have already started. Robbie hasn't had the best start so far, but if he could take down Oparin, he does have the white pieces. I think that's going to be a very important matchup for this third round here.
Yeah, for sure. So let's have a look how that one is playing out. I know that Robbie, he is being outrated by Oparin by quite a bit, but Robbie actually has a good score against him. For whatever reason, he often beats him in Blitz. And again, we see a Caro-Kann on the board here. And again, a two knights opening, which we've seen a lot from Oparin, both with white and with black.
Yeah, Oparin definitely has a lot of opening repertoire to work with. But it looks like with the black pieces, he has to spend a little bit of extra time here. Robbie is still very comfortable. He has the same amount of time that he started with, if not more. What do you know about Robbie's opening repertoire?
Yeah, so he does like playing the two knights attack against the Caro-Kann, and I like what he's got here out of the opening. It turned into a bit of a King's Indian position where white has the bishop pair, especially the light square bishop is missing for black, and what he can try to do here is perhaps go castles followed by queen e2 and f4, and we see c5 here by Oparin, weakening quite a few light squares. So I like what Robbie has here out of the opening.
Yeah, I love this knight c4, a4 idea. a4 just preventing black from playing b5, just kind of solidifying the knights in where he's putting a lot of pressure on the center. And I definitely agree with you. f4 is definitely the nature of the position. So white is going to have to move the queen around at some point, maybe after castling first. So bishop to d2, first move. And we could see the time is just increasing between these two players. Oparin under 4 minutes, and Robbie still at where he started with.
Yeah, we see this interesting move h4 by Robbie. So he's freeing up the h3 square for his bishop. 98 by Oparin. So I guess he wants to go knight d6 and trade off these knights. And finally, we see Robbie castle. So I wonder what he has in mind after move 96. And there we have it on the board. Is he going to trade or just defend the knight? How's he going to deal with this one?
Yeah, I was wondering, you said that h4 is preparing bishop h3, but I feel like that's kind of a valuable tempo because the knight on c4 is a pretty valuable piece, so black is in time to contest that. I'm not sure. Okay, it looks like h4 is being used here for the bishop to attack the queen, and that also frees up the d2 square for the knight, but can black play a move like f6?
But that does weaken more light squares. I think Robbie is just aiming to drop the bishop back to d2 or maybe even a c1. And then he can move his bishop into h3 to try to take advantage of those squares. So queen e7 by Oparin. Now knight d2 here. I don't think is a good move because the bishop will get trapped. So I like king h2 by Robbie, preparing to move bishop to h3.
Yeah, that makes sense. Knight d2 would lose your bishop after either f6 or maybe just h6. But we don't see knight d2. Robbie's prepared to trade off that knight, and looks like Oparin goes for that. So how do we feel about these doubled c pawns? Is that going to be a long-term disadvantage or weakness?
It's a good question. Yeah, I feel like it's not ideal, but white does have the bishop pair to work with. h5, interesting move by Robbie. I think he wants to go h6. And in case Grigoriy plays the move h6 himself, that would weaken some of the light squares. So it's going to be an interesting battle. And also, Robbie is up almost 1.5 minutes on the clock. And once again, for whatever reason, he does have Oparin's number, it seems. So let's hope he can also show that in this game.
So he's got his number. Do you have any stats or records to back that up, or is it just based off memory?
It's just based off memory. Yeah, I just know that he's beaten him in quite a few games. I wonder if they're going to go for this repetition with bishop d8 and bishop to d2. I think Oparin is aware of the fact that to finish in second place, they will have to beat SLU by a margin. And so I would be surprised if he does that.
Yeah, and just to give some historical context for the viewers out here, this is actually a rematch of the Season 1 finals back in 2020, the inaugural season of the Collegiate Chess League. We had Mizzou facing SLU in the finals, and Mizzou had just beaten UCLA in the semifinals, literally like right before. So the format back then, we did double elim, and the finals, there was like no bracket reset or anything. It was just straight up one match between the two teams, and the bracket wouldn't have been reset anyways because SLU won. And that was Mizzou's second loss. I think probably Mizzou had lost earlier to SLU. So SLU maybe just in general has Mizzou's number, but Mizzou did win the following season because I don't think SLU played. But SLU has rejoined as of last season, and they won. So SLU is the first school to beat or to win the CCL championship twice. No other team has done that. But SLU would also be the first to go back to back if they win again this season. So maybe SLU is just showing off their greatness, but I also think that there's chances for other teams to win. So we'll see if Mizzou can finish it off here.
Yeah, and we saw them repeating, and it's actually Grigoriy who declines the repetition with the move h6 and now goes bishop to d8 quickly, trying to go bishop g5 to trade off the bishops. So interesting to see what Robbie is going to do here. I don't think you can really keep the bishop on the board, but maybe if bishop g5 comes, perhaps you trade and give black this pawn on g5, which could become somewhat vulnerable. Joe, let's go to bird's eye view because we've been talking a bunch about this game, but there are also many other exciting games going on.
Definitely. It's impossible to watch them all, so we're going to try to do our best to find the most exciting games. So that was the top board there. Huge matchup for both these teams. Some of the top grandmasters competing. But we have another grandmaster matchup on board too, Antipov and Theodoru. Although that game looks maybe a little bit more even. Is there any game in particular that you wanted to look at? I think like game 4 might have an imbalance.
Well, let's stay with this one for a second because there is an interesting imbalance going on here. We see that Antipov is down a pawn, but he's got very nice piece activity, and White has not fully completed their development just yet. So it will be interesting to see how this one plays out. Nicolas, though, he is always up on time. We see here that he's almost up 2 minutes, so perhaps he can try to trick Antipov in the upcoming time scramble.
Yeah, he's playing quickly, and Antipov, we saw, had a winning position in, was it round 1 that he wasn't able to convert in the time scramble? So the timing is definitely very important here. Antipov diving his knight in, attacking the rook, and I'm expecting a rook move in response. You said that Theodoru hasn't completed his development yet. It's a little awkward for him. How does he finish his development? Is he going to have to just bring his bishop out?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess, yeah, bishop f4, knight d6 is not an idea right now because bishop h3 and rook e1 would be checkmate. But the onus is on Antipov. If Antipov does not play accurately in the next couple of moves, Theodoru does have that extra material. So let's see what he's going to do. He's down to 50 seconds.
Yeah, you mentioned bishop h3 check, and that looks really good like right now. Like bishop h3, you don't really want to go to the e file, right?
Okay, he goes knight b4.
Yeah, knight comes out, and
but what about knight d6?
Yeah.
This and this. Bishop h3 can be moved with bishop g2.
Exactly. That's the key difference here, right? Earlier, bishop h3 looked so bad because if the king goes to g1, there's back rank issues. But if we move our knight with tempo, we get this bishop g2 block if black continues with that bishop h3 check. So I think knight b4 might have been a miss when Antipov needed to give that check while they still had the chance.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good observation. So now Nicolas spending his time. So let's see, he could also take an f7 and then go knight d6. That would regain the rook, but black would have two very strong bishops, and I think black definitely has the advantage there. So knight d6 seems like the only move to maintain the balance. Bishop h3 can be met with bishop to g2. That being said, after these straights, Rook E1 does look annoying.
Yeah, I'm being corrected in chat by Mizzou's coach. So I was mentioning the team seasons that Mizzou has won one championship and SLU has won two. But we did have a very interesting fall season format last year with individuals, which Mizzou did end up winning. So definitely, obviously, these teams have a lot of talent and a lot of historical championships and wins. And like you mentioned, they're competing not only in the CCL, but in a lot of other tournaments as well. And there's actually going to be the US College Blitz Championship being played tomorrow, which I would be very surprised if these players are not competing in that. But wow, a curveball from Theodoru, F3. I don't think any of us were expecting that.
No, I don't like this move at all. So I think the idea is that in case Black takes there's knight f6 check. Antipov down to, 22 seconds though. So let's see what he is going to do. Perhaps Nico can trick him in a time scramble, but it looks very risky.
Wow. Very low time for Antipov, but he finds the best move. It's this bishop h3 one that we wanted the move earlier. So f3 allowing that move again, and this time Antipov doesn't miss. He's got the check, and now if the king goes to f2, there's bishop d4 check. There's even like knight d3 check. Like all the checks are available for Black.
Yeah, I think you have to go to f2. If you go to e2, the win is very easy. Just take on d5 and f5. Okay, so king f2 on the board. All right, so it takes on d5 by Antipov. And the problem is after you recapture, there's f5. And you cannot really move the knight as bishop d4 will lead to a checkmating attack. So let's see what Theodoro is going to try here. But I think objectively he's just lost. And is Antipov going to... I think f5 is too easy. And he finds
it's the only move. He finds it. Even though he's in a time scramble, I think this position's good enough for him to win with the increment. So Theodoro definitely misses the opportunity with this move f3. Maybe a little too creative. Bishop to d4 is going to come with a crushing check if the knight were to move. So you got to find another move here.
I don't see it. I don't see. You cannot move the knight, and otherwise Black is just going to pick it up. So we might just see Antipov winning a crushing game here with the Black pieces. All right. So g4 by Theodoro, king g3, but just bishop f1, and Black is up a piece.
Yeah, I saw this idea as well. Wow, not even saving the bishop, simply taking on f3.
One is a dagger. Up at 7 seconds. Okay, he finds a king g3, bishop h6 maybe, but maybe g5. Okay, rook f1 to defend the pawn, and you're completely frozen here on the back rank. You cannot get out. Maybe bishop e5 is a big move. That one's gonna hurt.
Yeah, maybe we take a look at bird's eye. I think this is pretty much going to be wrapped up. So Theodoro, he definitely might be feeling the effects of the Grand Swiss. But at least for SLU, they know that this is a regular season match, not playoffs yet. So they still have a lot of chances left. Plus, the match is not over yet. Antipov, obviously one of the top boards from Mizzou, but how are they doing on the other boards?
Yeah, so Mizzou has won all of their games so far, but it's looking pretty good for SLU on board number 4. Dambasurin has 2 extra pawns here, so let's see if he can finish it off. I don't see a direct win right away, but Otto, do you have something like 94 here?
Yeah, this one's a bit closer, but Josiah only has 5 seconds. That's going to be quite the time scramble.
Yeah. 94 to me looks winning. I don't know if White has any tricks there. Maybe knight c4, but there's got to be something like knight f2. So let's see. This has to be a win for Dambasurin. This has to be a win.
He's not playing it though. He's also going to get in time. He goes the other way. Does this change things?
Oh, and knight f7. Now apparently it's a draw. Wait, queen e1.
Was knight f7 the same move before?
And knight g5. Well,
wow. He finds a perpetual. There it is.
Now it's a draw. Yeah, knight e8 was a big blunder. Let's show that again real quick. Knight e4 was just GG. Knight f7, there's always like knight f2 tricks. But yeah, knight e8, big throw by Dambasurin. And now Mizzou is leading by a big margin.
Wow, so they've officially won the match with a round to spare. This is definitely SLU's biggest loss of the season so far. Mizzou's got to be feeling great, but their job is not done yet. They don't have to beat SLU. They have to beat SLU by a score of 11-5. I think they can do it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely looking possible. Let's look at the scorecard right now. Mizzou is leading 9-3, so they will need to score 2 points in the last round. So SLU will have to win the last round to get into the top 2.
Yeah, I don't think SLU's won a round yet, but this fourth and final round, they could pull off some magic. So SLU definitely still trying to get that top 2 spot. So that actually confirms Dallas is the regular season winner. So they're going to have the first seed. They're going to get the bye. But this last spot for that second spot is going to be definitely fought for between these 2 teams. Their fate is in their hands. 1 round to go. 4 games left. Can Mizzou hold on with a 2-2 score, or can SLU win this last round to hold on to that second spot? This is going to be a very exciting finish.
Yeah, no, indeed. So let's see what's going to happen in this matchup. So we have some very interesting matches. We see Oparin against Theodoru. We see Antipov against Robbie. Batsurin against Luca. And Sila against Josiah. Wow, look at this. Nicolas opening up with the Owens defense.
I don't even know what that is.
It's E4, B6.
Have you played that before?
No, it's not something I would play.
So that means it's a good opening, right?
Well, Nicolas likes playing this in Blitz. He keeps all of the pieces on the board, and Greg is very booked up, so at least this gets him out of his theory. I think that's the idea behind it.
We saw Theodoro. I think he was playing some of those weird knight moves against Awonder earlier in the season. So he obviously has a pretty deep opening repertoire, but he's got the black pieces against Oparin. And even though Mizzou has already won the match, SLU could still beat out Mizzou in the season standings. They just have to get 2.5 points. So there's still plenty to play for on the line. Where are you going to get these 2.5 points from, Ben?
I think from the top 3 boards, like Nicolas and Robbie, I think they could get it done, and then perhaps, like 2.5 points in those 3 games. Like Sila is outrated quite a bit by Josiah on board number 4, so I think that's where we have to hope for the points to come in.
Okay. So yeah, the game plan, they're going to try to get the 2.5 points. Mizzou, meanwhile, they're going to look to continue what they're doing. I don't think they're going to change much, right? I mean, their formula has been good so far. They've won every single round of this match so far, and all they need to do is tie this last one, actually. But a lot of people say in chess, the mistake is to play for the tie, right? If you play for the draw, you end up losing. So they're going to probably just stick to their game plan, their formula, and even try to win this 4th and final round.
And we have some very interesting developments on board number 2. Perhaps we can go there. Let's go to Birdseye first. But if we have a look at Birdseye, we can see that Antipov, he is down a piece for a couple of pawns. So let's see how that came about. Maybe if we can go back a couple of moves. We see that in this position right here, Robbie broke open with the move b5, and Antipov just takes it, sacking the knight on c3. But he does get a lot of pawns. Is it enough, though? That's the big question.
Wow. Exciting piece sacrifice there from Antipov. But yeah, is it enough? We got that pawn on 8. I mean, it's like 3 connected pass pawns there for Antipov. I feel like surely it has to be enough, but maybe the extra piece is going to come in handy for Robbie.
Yeah, let's see. Very double-edged game that can really go either way. We see rook d1 by Antipov. And I think he's looking at knight b5, hitting the rook on c3 and the pawn on d6. Practically speaking, I feel like it's easier to play as white. The pawn on d6 is weak. This pawn is there. The pawn on a6 is very strong. And black doesn't really have any direct counterplay, at least for the moment. And the clock also reflects that, as Antipov is up a minute.
Yeah, that's crazy that Antipov has 4:48 on the clock, only having spent 12 seconds, and is confident enough already to give up a piece for some pawns. So down a piece, but so much of the game still has to be played. And I was about to say that Black's biggest advantage is the rooks on the C file, but having to babysit this pawn on D6, he breaks the rooks and just to defend. And I feel like knight B5 is an interesting idea. Is there a way to defend the pawn here? Does Black just want to push that pawn? Well, it's pinned, right? The bishop is behind it.
Yeah, Black would love to play d5 to alleviate some of the pressure. So maybe what Robbie can do is go king f8 followed by d5. Goes bishop b4 here, rook back to c8 and a4 on top of setting the pawns in motion. So let's see what Robbie's going to do now. I mean, king f8, maybe white just goes bishop a3, b4, b5, and Robbie goes for knight c6.
Yeah, knight c6, trying to trade off. Because that bishop on a8 was going nowhere, probably the worst piece on the board. But this trade helps that bishop out, but this also might help white out, right? Because now Antipop can just move the bishop back or forward with tempo and then continue with the b pawn push.
Yeah, okay, so bishop a5 by Antipov, nice move. And yeah, now b4, b5 is coming, so it's not looking good for Robbie. I don't see what he should do here to hang on.
Has Robbie won a game yet? This match?
No, I think he's 0-3, and I don't know if he's
Oh my
aware
goodness.
of the situation that like these games still matter.
Oh, for sure. I mean, 2.5 points for SLU, and they still get that second place spot. Like they would finish ahead of Mizzou, even though
Yeah.
Mizzou just is crushing them right now. So
Mhm.
there's still so much left to be played, but this is looking pretty bad for Robbie, and thus looking bad for the SLU team. But maybe we take a look at some of the other games.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go to Bird's Eye. All right, so we can see some developments in the game between Oparin and Theodoru. Let's go there as Oparin just sacked a knight, it looks, or well, some crazy developments are happening. Let's have a look. So we left, wow, the moves are flying and rook g8 hitting this, but rook e2 to defend. Oh wait, you can take on g2, because if you recapture, then the rook is hanging. And Theodoru is, of course, like this is right up his alley. This is a Nico move.
The Nico move. Can he
Yeah.
get it on the? I mean, this is crushing for Black.
Yeah,
He's done
I'm
it.
telling you that's Nicolas Theodoru for you. Yeah.
The double exclam, brilliant. So there's some life yet for the SLU team.
Yeah, the thing is though that still 1.5 more points would be needed. Okay, so let's say white takes to the rook, you take on g2, and then you take on a1, and black is completely winning. So I don't even know what as I was about to say, I think this is the only move, pawn takes c5. Now bishop f3 is a move to regain the rook, and the king is wide open, so this has to be winning for Theodoru.
Wow, that king is so like out there. Black's rook is going to have a discovery check. The queen is going to come out probably with some checks. Like, I don't even know if the king can move anywhere without getting it checked immediately in the next move.
Yeah, so bishop f3 check, king f1, only moved by a pawn. Okay, I guess now you just take, white recaptures, and you are up a couple of pawns with a strong attack. But again, still some work to be done. So let's see how Nico will try to finish it off. I think he is probably tempted to go for something like queen h4.
Queen h4 is such a natural move, but you also have to watch out. Pawn takes d6 with discovery.
Right, but maybe just king f8. And the best white has there is to go queen e7 and go into a rook endgame down 2 pawns. So let's see what Nico is going to do. He must know he's winning. d5, I guess, also looks tempting, but maybe then white goes e6 and breaks open some diagonals and lines. Oh wait,
Yeah,
e6,
so
queen
this-
f6 is GG.
Oof. That's a big fork.
All right.
So yeah, I think white needs to get their rook involved. But yeah, the queen coming out. The problem is our king just has no safety, no shelter, no pawns. So this is looking great for Theodoru, but unfortunately for the SLU team, it's not looking great on many of the other boards. If we wanted to take, okay, yeah, check probably. Okay, king moves.
All right, so should be a win for Theodoru, who's up 2 pawns and has the safer king, but it's not over just yet. Okay, so let's have a look at bird's eye view, as board 4 is looking good for Sela. So let's pull that up. She's the big rating underdog. So let's go to that game. Perhaps just like last week, she can score a very important upset. Bishop to c8 was just played by Josiah, a very passive move, But White had tons of pressure along the d-file. So the question is, what do you do now? Maybe you just take on g5, followed by h6 or bishop d3, something like that.
Yeah, I think Sela kind of is in a must-win situation here against the board four, but that's really tough to say. Like, obviously, Josiah is a higher rated player, and he, I feel like, is one of these IMs that is also chasing his GM title. And fun fact about Josiah, he actually is a graduate student at Mizzou. He used to play for the UC Berkeley team and was a captain there. So he's got a ton of experience in the CCL, and he's actually doing pretty well today so far. But Sela, she gets this pawn to h6. Uh-oh.
Rook d8. Rook d8.
I was just going to say that was good, but no. Josiah is going to... Yeah, you're going to lose your queen here.
All right, well, yeah, that's a very basic tactic. I'm kind of surprised that she missed that, but yeah, now all of a sudden Josiah is winning. And with that, like, does SLU still have a chance? I mean, Nicolas is probably going to win, but if Robbie loses and Sela loses, that would be the end of the match, and this game is now just over.
Yeah, the bishop's pinned now. Josiah is not going to miss this.
Yeah, and there we have it in the book. So Josiah wins. So if Mizzou gets one more win, they get it done. Okay, so let's see. And
I think they'll get more than that.
Yeah, Robbie is in big trouble. We left off there a while ago. So f4 by Antipov trying to break open the center. So let's see what Robbie should do.
Well, let's quickly go to bird's eye view.
Oh yeah, let's go to bird's eye view first. All right, so we see that Mizzou is leading 10-3. They only need one more point. Yeah, it looks like... Oh, wait, Nico has thrown...
Wow, did Oparin mess up?
No, Nico messed up.
Oh, sorry. That's what I meant. But holy smokes, we thought that was going to be a lock-in for sure. Well, maybe we got to kind of look at that one to see what happened.
Yeah, let's... let's perhaps see what's going on in that game. So Nicolas still has these pawns on the king side f5 now, just pushing the pawns forward. It's not over just yet, but he was completely winning earlier on. So I don't know exactly what happened.
You want to go back and look?
Yeah, so we left off right over here. Everything was looking good. King of 8.
King f8 was played.
h4 here. Queen of 6
left. Trade off.
And he made a big mistake right here. Like, already he's made it very difficult for himself, but king g6 was a big mistake, because now this comes with check, king up. And Oparin is pushing his pawn quickly as well. You can go f4, but the rook can always go behind.
Wow, okay, so he's down only one pawn in this situation, and it's kind of turned into a race. And Theodore is also down in time now, so wow, huge props to Mizzou's captain, their top board, Oparin, for really holding on to this. So I think you get the rook behind, and yeah, I mean, it's just an all-out race right now.
Yeah, king g3. Okay, either you push or you give a check. I assume this somehow has to be a draw, but black is still pushing for the win. So with a little time, Oparin could still go wrong. He goes c7, which is fine. f2 now for Nicolas, I assume.
Yeah, the pawn's on c7, but how do you promote it?
Yeah, neither pawn is promoting here. So king e2. Okay, goes king e3. Okay, maybe king... You can go to c2, but then the rook goes over to f7.
Yeah,
king
f7
now.
So it's just a draw?
I think so. King of 1, you can try. King of 3. They might just be headed for a draw here. But I think you have to try if you're Theodoro. You have to try. Go with the king to f1. King e4.
You even mentioned you're not even sure if he's aware of the situation. Oh, he is going for it.
Yeah.
Now king h2.
Yeah, king h2 and rook f2 is just a draw. King h2, take, rook f2. Maybe you can pick up this a pawn, but it has to be a draw. Okay, king c3 maybe. King c3.
Wow.
Go
Okay, so he's going to try on the queen side now.
Yeah, rook c4. Oh, and by the way, to correct you, I thought Robbie was on 0 out of 3, but actually he scored half a point against Josiah. So he's going half a point out of 4.
Yeah, but that's still not great for him. And we actually have Antipov won against Robbie. And yeah, actually with that, I think Mizzou has done it.
Yeah. King b4.
Wow.
Can you trade here, or do you have to keep the rooks on the board? Take the king e3. Yeah, I think you're just in time. King e3 and king e2. Yeah, that's it. That's a draw.
So we have a draw here. We have one last game to look at, but Mizzou's done it. They've made it to second place in the standings. They're going to get a bye, and you guys are going to have to play next weekend in this quarterfinals.
Yeah, apparently taking 1 week off is too much to ask. But yeah, Mizzou gets it done. They win by a score of, I can see it right now, but they win by a big margin.
Yeah, they're at 11 with one game. Well, they're going to be at 11 and a half with one game to go. So yeah, Mizzou's done it. They've won every single round. They're dominating the SLU team, who is missing one of their all-star players, Benjamin Bok, due to a commentator position.
Right. Anyway, so yeah, we see Mizzou getting it done. Yeah, will Mizzou finish second, or will it be UTRGV? Like, I don't know the exact. I guess Mizzou, right? They will have the more board points.
Yeah, Mizzou, especially after this performance, they should have passed UTRGV for sure. So I think actually UTRGV might even be ahead of SLU as well. So you guys might be fourth place.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know who we will play. I guess we'll play Yale in the quarterfinals, but I guess we'll find all of that out very soon. There's still one game ongoing, and even though it is a draw, it is somewhat exciting as we have a rook and knight versus a king, a rook, and a bunch of pawns. Oh, knight g5.
Time scramble. Oh, big fork.
Yeah.
Wow. Dominating performance in round 4. This is the last opportunity that SLU had, and Mizzou shone through. They're very happy with this performance, and they look to continue their success in the playoffs. They're guaranteed some prize money even, getting top 2, because that guarantees them to semifinals. So 4th place in Division 1 is a guaranteed $500 prize. So UTDallas and Mizzou both locking in some prize money with today's performance, and even more to come if they continue their success in the playoffs.
Yeah, so we have the scorecard here of the final round. We see that Mizzou wins by a score of 3.5 to half. Only Nicolas was able to make a draw, but all of the other Mizzou players won their games.
Yeah, huge win. I mean, they completely blew out all of our predictions. The chat had a 50-50 guess. I had Mizzou winning, but not by this much. But congrats to them, and congrats to SLU still for a very dominant season so far. But obviously, the real season is about to begin next week with playoffs beginning. So we will have some playoff brackets being made. Today is the last day of the season for Division 1. So this has been such an awesome 7 weeks for the Collegiate Chess League. I'm so honored to be able to commentate with you, Bok, and hopefully we'll see your team have more success in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I hope so as well. We'll have to step up our game, and I think again, if we can get if we can get the best team together, if also the fact that people had their over the board tournaments that also didn't help. I think if everyone's well rested and we have our best team, then we have a good shot at winning it all.
Yeah, you guys are the defending champions, so you have your title to defend. But don't go anywhere just yet, because we will have a player interview after this short break.
With Chess Kid's new live classroom feature, coaches can do so much more. Easily create or preload games from your library and invite your class in seconds. Teach face-to-face interactive lessons without having to leave the site. Teaching chess online has never been easier.
The way I understand it, there are 2 spells. You can freeze a 3x3 area of the board, and then you can mark a piece that you can use to jump. So we're going to start with a Sicilian here. Now I'm threatening to take his pawn, because I could freeze his knight and then potentially take the pawn, but I'm out of the freeze, so I guess... Oh, and he froze my pawn. That's very smart. Okay.
I think that's how it works.
Okay, so that means I lost a piece here.
So can I jump through this piece? I don't understand. That jump I still need to figure out. Maybe it's on the other piece. Can this piece jump? No. That is the tricky one. It's the jumping thing.
So I'm down a minor piece. Wait, why did... No. Oh, James wants to jump over and attack g7, so I'm going to castle.
Can I jump through this? No.
He was attacking my pawn on g7 because the queen could have jumped over to take my pawn.
With this jump piece.
Oh, of course, he probably will play bishop h6, and then I'll have to play g6. Okay, but now he can set a jump on g6 and play queen g7 checkmate, I'm pretty sure. And I don't have my freeze, so I think if James figures it out, he mates me. Yeah, this is why I'm not good at variance. I'm good at chess. Okay, he missed it. He missed it. I think he... Oh, and he froze me, so that's annoying.
Can I jump? What if I put it on his piece? I'm just curious to know. Do I bounce off of it or something? Like, what does this thing do? Oh, wait.
Okay, he gave up his queen for some reason.
Yeah.
What is he preparing to do?
Yeah.
No. He's going to take my queen. I guess we're done? Like, there's no more freezes? We're just playing chess? Okay, if we're playing chess, then I lose.
GG.
Nicely done, James.
And welcome back, everyone, to the 2023 Collegiate Chess League. We are joined by Mizzou's top board, Grigoriy Oparin. Grigoriy, welcome to the show. You guys won with a very convincing score. And I was wondering, were you guys aware of the situation that you needed to win with a big victory?
Hey guys, yeah, thank you. Yeah, of course we were aware. I mean, we're not 100% sure like how many points we need to score. Like first, I thought like we need to score 11 and a half, and before the last round, our coach texted us that like 11 is fine. We got much more than that, so it was not like a problem. Yeah, like everyone played excellent today. So
yeah, welcome, Oparin. I first off wanted to congratulate you on your massive victory today, and wish you good luck in the playoffs. So my question for you is: a lot of people thought that SLU is the favorites, and today's victory not only put you ahead of SLU in the standings and just outright beating them, but it's kind of a statement victory for you guys. Do you feel that you're going to take down SLU if you were to meet again in the playoffs, or do you think they would definitely be able to put up a stronger fight, let's say if their star player Benjamin Bok was in the lineup?
yeah, I mean it's obviously a very close fight usually, but I mean today like all our players were super motivated to win this match because we just wanted to get the top two spots to guarantee semis. But yeah, I mean I'm sure it will be much more close next time. I mean, so did not have their perfect lineup today. Yeah, I mean it's not supposed to be that easy normally, but it is what it is. It takes us.
All right, and Grigoriy, we have a question from the chat. Benjamin Bok Hype Man is asking, how are you able to manage school and chess?
No, it's not too difficult. I mean, I've been studying for the last many years. First undergrad school, now grad school, and probably it's a little bit easier in the grad school because professors are usually more flexible like with all the assignments and with the due dates. So it's not been a big issue. And also, it kind of helps me in my chess career because it's something that I can switch to, like if chess does not go well for me. So, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And you're a busy guy, not only with chess and school, but you're also playing in all these other like over the board tournaments all around the world. I know you've missed actually a few matches so far this season because of that. And I wanted to ask if you have any upcoming tournaments and if it's going to conflict at all with your semifinals or finals match in 2 weeks.
No, I'm definitely playing the rest of the matches. So, yeah. I mean, I have some events. I'm not sure if I'll be playing or I'll be coaching, but yeah, I will definitely play all the rest of the rounds. I think it's 2 matches left.
Yeah, semifinals on November 18th and finals or third place match on November 19th. But that actually leads me to ask, obviously Dallas just won the regular season, and that is one of the teams that actually beat you this season. And they're actually looking for their first Collegiate Chess League championship victory. Do you think that they only beat you in the regular season and playoffs, it's going to be a different question? Or do you think they have a good chance to win it all?
I mean, they have a good team, but obviously in our match against them, we were missing some players. I have to say that we relaxed a little bit and did not play our best chess, but we'll definitely adjust the quality of our play for the playoffs. It's hard to say like how close the match will be, but I think we are favorites. If we ever to meet them, I don't know what the brackets look like.
It will definitely be exciting to see the top teams fighting it out in the playoffs. And yeah, it was an exciting day of chess, Grigoriy, but I think we're going to let you go. You had a long match, so you definitely deserve some rest, and we wish you good luck in the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, Joe. So yeah, that wraps up today's match, and perhaps we can already have a look at the playoffs that are coming ahead. Is that already starting next week?
Yeah, so next week is going to be the quarterfinals. It is a 16 bracket, so The top two get a bye, so we won't be seeing Mizzou or Dallas play next weekend because they've earned their byes today with big wins. But we will see the number 3 seed versus number 6 seed, and we'll see the number 4 seed versus number 5 seed. But yeah, Bok, this has been such an awesome season. This has been an awesome day for matches and chess in general. Obviously, maybe not the result that you wanted, but I'm still very excited to see you guys have a lot of playoffs left. So you guys will be playing next weekend. And even though maybe you won't be commentating again, it's been a blast to have you. And we're looking forward to watching you play some games again.
Yeah, no, it'll be pretty exciting if I remember correctly. I think we're playing Colombia, so we'll be playing against our good friend Brandon Jacobson, and perhaps we'll cross paths again with Mizzou later in the tournament, and we'll definitely be looking for revenge.
I'm sure. But I'm sure all the fans are also very excited and rooting for that too. So playoff bracket, it's the best time of the year. We have elimination bracket. We're also going to have some bracket prediction prizes, so keep an eye out. We will be announcing that on Chess.com in a news article. But for now, I think this has been it. It's been lovely and an honor. Good luck the rest of the way, Ben.
Yeah, no, thanks, Joe. It was a lot of fun calling all of the action today. Again, I would have loved to see win for SLU, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. And we have lots of other exciting chess ahead, because tomorrow will be the last round of the Grand Swiss.